Iron Lady Records, sweet sound.
Lima guaya ume Congo. La biara ya obore. Congo. Tiawan Congo. Congo. Tiawan Congo. Say you wa ya. Apa la bia se ne ye wa gbe ya. Lo aye wa gbera. Papa Tiawan Congo bonu ile. You know why we are. Me go ni my name. You are what. Zaba lo kwa yi. Ni wa lo wa yi. Apa ma wanta me wa lo wa yi. Ada pa. Damn it. Movement. Corruption la yen pona. Me wo kwa wa yi ba wo ne ara wo. Ega ye wo. Ampani ma no se ga ye wo so. Prende ye pona pone. Kanu ga ore. Kanu ga ba gan mo lo mu e. Wọ́n bá ya kwa. Eti àwọn kan gbogbo ya kwa. Kanu wo ba ka. Kani ambo yi ma. Boko. Rakire ye wa dero. Odorano o bora. Tabi ano yi wa wa. Apoti àwọn Congo mo nu ile baba. La bia se ne wa ya. Diable ya potita. Something zota. Numbebe ya sia. Mi o go magu e baba. Wa pa yi won ga. Wa po wa no senu. Ene yi fokole yi mo e. Wa bo nu ile. Bongo. Tiawan Congo yi go aye.
Que cuando acá cuesta de todo, Tiawan son ese o cuando acá Tiawan Gongloe, que cuando acá es más suave que Tiawan Gongloe no payo Zuzule petit a pied coin, et Tiawan Gongloe il nous lève. La bien non mais pas que nous Tiawan Gongloe.
I'm Alfonso Saye, of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR-TV. The politics of Liberia is taking heat right here in the diaspora. A group calling itself Friends of Councilor Tiawan Gongloe. They are here this evening, and we're going to have a pick their positions and why they are involved. I am Alfonso Saye, so welcome our group, our guests. They are standing by backstage, and very shortly I'm going to be bringing them. So let's give you this sign to energize the campaign of Councilor Tiawan Gongloe. This is LPR, Liberia Public Radio.
Ele be flu. Ya gana ke de rake. Kwalaga o ya o. Se Tiawan Gongloe no payo Dia o
TV es Dolo, ni ma musicien promoteur. Tiawan Gongloe ni ma so ya wale apa Tiawan Gongloe wa no mbone Tiawan Gongloe gbere ye ka se ne wome yo ye ka Eli Johnson yi kan wa bo se ne wa Tango. Never know again. That never know again. After much around the one again. Saye was ni mala ye wawe. After ni man knows if I was again.
All right,
What
good
the
evening. Welcome from the Liberia Public Radio and LPR-TV. Let's start this music. Good evening to welcome. Our guests are standing by, and very shortly we're going to get this program on the way. The raise of the executive mansion, that's the official residence of the President of the Republic of Liberia, is ongoing. A group calling itself Friends of Tiawan Saye Gongloe, a presidential hopeful. He is currently on the Liberian People's Party, LPP. That became official, I believe that was in May of this year, taking the standard bearer stage. And since then, he's been coming in back and forth, but now the group is coming. Why at this time, and what do they have in store? Is it a super PAC? How long do they intend to continue or stand by Councilor Tiawan Saye Gongloe, one of the presidential hopeful? Well, they are here. We're going to dive into their agenda. Will they just be here, or they will also find themselves battleground states in Liberia? He was here with the broom. Is a broom still here, or where is he? What, folks? Welcome to the show. I'm Alfonso Saye of the Liberia Public Radio. This is the first segment here, and the rest will follow here. Welcome to the show. Okay, time is fast spent. The race for the overall office in Liberia continues. It's been transitioned right here in the USA. Former Vice President Joseph Boyka is here on his fundraiser. Let's have a political nomenclature. Well, that I cannot say, but a group has come out. I'm going to be bringing them for us to have a conversation here. Let's go right here to bring in the first guest. Dr. Sam G. Ban is here. I believe is the head of the team, Friends of Councilor Tiawan Gongloe. Let me go back here and bring in Junius D. Zioka II, also Friends of Gongloe. Individually, they will introduce themselves as we get to this program here virtually, and as soon the rest surface, we will also get them on here. Abba, guys, are you hearing me?
Yes, I hear you just fine.
Okay, good. All right, let me just bring some of your call. Dr. Roberts, if you can give us some little bit of light. I don't think you want to be in the dark executive mansion. Perhaps you're going to be the special assistant if Councilor Gongloe is elected. You want to be visible. I want to make sure and see you what you're doing. Yeah. Okay, let's bring in Dr. Mand. They are all here. Let me make sure and call this name. Truward Man, is that correct? Can you?
That's correct. Two-way man.
Truward Man. Okay. I don't like people to mess my name up, so I don't like to find myself in that. Okay, guys, gentlemen, lady, she is the only queen in the house. Why? Is that how you're going to form your ministry? Only 1%, or that just a start off? All right, guys.
We'll let the chairman answer that question.
I think this is a great proportion, at least 3-1, and she is our only queen. And as we come on, you're going to see more women answering your questions.
Okay,
we want to thank you for inviting us.
She will really buy into that on 3-1. She was the one that they want their voices to be heard. Okay, right, guys.
But just so the record will show, Councilor Gongloe did say in his cabinet is going to be 50-50.
Right.
Well, politicians are very calculative, so we'll wait and see. Let's get to the issue here. They say, okay, guys, ladies, good evening. Welcome. This is the Liberia Public Radio. This is your first time appearing. We say thank you so much for being here. It's a conversation. So we do not entertain. We ask serious questions. We have serious conversation. The drama is already, it's just too much all over the place. No need to add up to
that. So for us here, we keep honest conversation. You are at liberty if you choose to plead the fifth in terms of not wanting to answer any questions. You are also at liberty to do that. Okay, let's go around the house to have a sort of self introduction, maybe specific role with the Friends of Gongloe right here in the USA, and then we can get right down to the wire. Who wants to go first? Let the chairman open the curtain.
Well,
I thought you said Friends of Gongloe.
Friends of Gongloe.
All right, so the chairman is chairman of Liberian People's Party. All right, my name is Dr. Sampan. I'm from Friends of Gongloe. I'm on the board of directors. I am not the executive director of Friends of Gongloe. That will be Dr. Emmanuel Kamara. The chairman of the board of directors for Friends of Gongloe is George Wu, and I serve on the board. I happen to also serve on the board of Team Gongloe, Minnesota. I'm happy to be here. We think we have found a good leader who can help resolve some of the issues we have in Liberia today. And he's doing everything a candidate needs to do and more. And we are here to back him up, do the best we can to make sure that a better Liberia he envisions will come to pass.
Okay, there you have it, Dr. Sam G. Bant. I believe I'll probably to have a conversation here. Who's taking the wheel? Who's the next person coming through?
Well, I am Dr. Augustus D. Ramos, and I'm the chairman for the Liberia People's Party, USA. And I want to thank you for inviting us. And I also want to bring you greetings from the members of the Liberia People's Party in the diaspora and in Liberia. And we appreciate the great work you are doing. And we also want to inform you that this is a representation of the party in the diaspora and the supporters of Gongloe, otherwise referred to as the Friends of Gongloe. And we work together to ensure that our standard bearer becomes the next president of the Republic of Liberia. And we hope and pray that we'll all work together to achieve our goals. Thank you.
All right, there you are. Hearing it from the house's mouth, Dr. Roberts. Thank you so much. So, who's going? Mr. Zioka, or are you going to give Dr. Man the chance? Let's you decide how you're going to get it going.
Dr. Man, go. Dr. Man, you go.
You go ahead. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Tiawan May, and I am a member of the Friends of Gongloe in California. I also serve as the chair of the LPP FOG Team Minnesota Joint Committee for and FOG for like the education and youth empowerment here in the diaspora. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, it looks like I'm going to have a serious tax here this evening. Let's see how they square out. Okay, Zioka?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. So. This is my second time appearing on your show, and I'm the Secretary General for the Liberian People's Party.
Secretary General. Okay, let's do this here. Okay, guys, good evening. Thank you so much. Honoring the invitation to come here. This is what we love doing. This is what we intend to do up to the finishing point of this consequential race, to have people who respect your views, your political choice. But we think all have a shared responsibility to have this conversation in terms of how you arrive at this point here. So let's set the basis of tonight's conversation. Questions is conversation. Question could factor in based on what we got in. And to our audience, questions drawn up by me and only me. The guests do not have no access to it, and so we just want to make that crystal clear here. Let's give our audience the background of what we are here for, because this seems to be a collection of people from different backgrounds, friends of Gongloe, Liberia People's Party, kind of showing the sort of broad bay to justify your leader, how he came into being. So let me start with Dr. Ban. So maybe it might be redundant, or we might have had it, but every day people come through, so it's good to give that sort of clarity. How you got connection with Councilor Tiawan Gongloe to give your political support?
First and foremost, I must say I'm a professional. I'm not a politician per se from the Liberian sense of the word. I first got to know Councilor Gongloe as a person, and I consider him a mentor and a big brother. We, so we knew each other personally. And then when it came to politics, I first contacted Councilor Gongloe like in the late 90s and treated him to run for political office. And he said no. That was my first time discussing politics with him. And then we met again, I think it was another time, 1996, here in Minnesota, 1999. And we asked him again to get into political election and stuff like that. And he still said no. And when I met him in the mid 2000s and later on in the 2010s, I still entreated him to run for political office, and he said no. So last year, let's say 2021, when I got a call that said, hey, Councilor Gongloe has decided to run, like you, I was curious myself. And I said, well, tell him he needs to call me personally and tell me why he wants to run this time. And within 2 hours, he did. And he told me. And I was floored. I was like, man, we've been waiting for this for years. But here's what he said. He said, I think Liberia is now ready for a person like me. I said, well, we've been asking you all these years, how come you didn't want to run? He said, Liberia was not ready. The kind of values and character that were prominent in Liberia, the kind of thing that Liberians looked up to, was not somebody that was honest, somebody that had a clean-cut conscience. But now, sometime in 2021, I don't know if you remember the story, one of the evidence he had was Emmanuel Tulo, when that kid found $50,000 cash and went on the radio to announce that he found cash, a bag full of cash, and he was looking for the owner. And if you can still remember that time in Liberia, the entire country, actually, including the president, everybody honored the kid. And then it dawned on Councilor Gongloe, I think the country is now ready to actually look forward to an honest person, right? And that was one of the things that motivated him to get into the race now, not for greed, not for self-aggrandizement, but to give Liberia our first chance to have an honest person whose only desire is to serve his people. And I thought that was very convincing. He got me from hello.
All right.
As they would say.
Okay, so as time goes by in a conversation, we'll see whether that convincing argument will be articulated here as well, because you asked him multiple times and he kept saying no and no and no. I don't know why you said they didn't jump in the race, but that's a different thing. We're going to keep maybe for 2020 now. Let me go to Dr. Roberts. Dr. You said you're from the Liberty Party, correct? I mean, Liberian People's Party. Unmute yourself, please.
I'm from the Liberia People's Party, and I'm the chairman for the party in the United States. And I want to thank you again for giving us this forum or the platform to be able to tell the Liberian people in the diaspora our readiness and preparedness to provide a government that will enable our Liberian people to have a higher standard of living and a good quality of life. But before going forward, I also want to repeat what our standard bearer have been uh, saying this week. Throughout this week, he been calling on the Christian Council of Liberia, including other peace lovers, to intervene in the disagreement between Senator Prince Johnson and the President of the Republic of Liberia. And he has been calling on people to ensure that there is peace for us to be able to hold the 2023 elections. And you also mentioned that it has reached a stage where there's actually the need for intervention. And so as people in the diaspora, we also think that a better Liberia means a peaceful Liberia. There's nothing above it or beyond it. So that is a call that we also want to make as members of the Liberian People's Party, and also all our friends and supporters, and the supporters of our standard bearer also agree with me that there is a need for peace as we seek to better the living condition of our people and improve the standard of living and the quality of life.
Yeah, but talk to me here. And peace, don't get me wrong. Peace is something we ought, we are desperate. We need it. We need to be in peace in order to do what we should do for our country. But my concern here, your connection with the counselor, is it based on partisans, or are you convinced that he is the right guy for the job?
Well, the counselor is not new in Liberian progressive circles, and he has worked assiduously over the years to ensure that there is a better Liberia. And the better Liberia, he means that we need a Liberia in which there will be better education, there will be better hospitals, children will be able to go to school without being feared of being put out of the classroom because they don't have money to pay. There will also be employment. The gross domestic product, which is an indicator of a better economy, will also be higher than what we have right now. And he's a man that look to a future where we have the ability to feed ourselves. And almost all other presidents that were elected always put forth a kind of plan that they thought
We'll come to. Don't worry. We gotta ask you guys, because you gonna be the influential in this whole thing. Your job here is to do the guy work. We're gonna come to that, so don't worry. We're gonna dive into that. So let me bring in the lady in the house, Dr. Ment, and Ziokat. I want to be coming to you. Dr. Ment, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, from your intro here, I kind of like overheard education. Is that a committee you're working on, or something like that? How long you been doing that? How long you been doing
So
the
yeah, I actually met the counselor last year when he came to California, and he visited with us. That's when I got to meet him. But prior to then, when I was invited to be a part of his team, I came up and I saw the wonderful work that he has done. And he's made the statement oftentimes that he wants Liberia to be a place not just for the powerful or the people who are in power, but also be including those who do not have, like not for the haves, but also for the have-nots. So to to me, that one who was thinking about the people, and that's seen in his resume, in his accolades, his things that he's done, is that he had his hand in the dirt with the people, right? He goes into the community. If people are being in prison, he's going there to represent them, whether they have money or not. That is someone that I see that can represent. So that's why for someone who has that humanitarian feeling for not just the haves, but also the have-nots. So that intrigued me to be a part of his team. And when I got to meet him, seeing that he is passionate, he is a whole person, I'm like, I'm on board. And whatever it is that I need to do this, I'll be. So that's why I became a part of this team. And yes, on that team, within California and across with LPP and the very groups that comes together, the joint committee, I was tasked to support the education.
Okay, and that's one of the things I really find interesting, because we need to start having a conversation of substance, not just only replacing we are. We should know, and we need to know what we are replacing. We are not. I don't want to be the guy to be caught in the surprise and stuff like that. You just met him. Was it a lengthy conversation that sounded so convincing, for which you are putting yourself before cameras to speak for this guy? Are you convinced?
Yeah, I had an opportunity. Yeah, I had an opportunity to have a one-on-one when he was here in California with us, where we sat and we had a long conversation, and he is very personable. Where you sit with him, he's humble. There was where we had a welcoming dinner for him, where he came to tell us why we should. And one of the persons there, he realized that his mom was from the same town. And while we're there with him, and he's like, oh, but then you're my uncle. And then he did the traditional thing where he got on his knees, where we had not just Africans or Liberians, but we had like African Americans, we had people of different backgrounds. And they were like, what is he doing? I mean, he's a presidential candidate. Why is he getting on his knees in front of this person? We call him Q. And I was like, that's the tradition, knowing that if you're from my mother's town, I can't, I get on my knees to honor you in that sense. And I seen him and I'm like, okay, so definitely this is not a man who's like carrying himself because I'm a presidential candidate. I cannot do this, right? I mean, and we hear the countless story about how he's gotten out there and he's worked with the people, especially they say poor woman lawyer, because he's passionate about that. That's something I believe in too. Passionate about it.
All right, we're going to come back.
I'm sorry, I thought you were
yeah, I will be coming back. Yeah, we'll give everybody the opportunity to kind of like explain that we must all be held accountable, not just only the candidate, because you guys are making the argument he is the alternative, and we need to know why he is the alternative. Let me come to Ziokar, of course. The man on the say Sekou Buen, he say Bia, he's Secretary General already, so we know that he is already in the front. Okay, my dear brother and friend, I will ask, I will kind of restructure the questions. You've been here before, so now we're saying here there seems to be a mixture. I remember the last time to have like Dr. Kamara and other folks, but we see like a mixture of people of different backgrounds. LPP, friends of Gongloe. How is it being squared out? Are you guys coordinating? Is that the same group or what? Yoka, are you there?
All right. Yes. Okay. So thank you so much for having me on your show again for this time. Yes, we are coordinating, and like we said from the beginning, we have the auxiliary, which is a strong supporting arm of our standard bearer Councillor Tiawan Gongloe, and that is the Friends of Gongloe. So you see us here as a complete representation of the standard bearer. There is a coordination going on right here. So you are right about that. Yes, we are coordinating.
So we need to know a little more about these two groups. If I'm correct, if not, just let me know, and maybe Dr. Rob or any of you guys, we can just do it in the other faction. Now, is it a super PAC or what's group? Political group, friends? Let's know the nature of this. What is the motive? Who wants to go first?
I will ask you, Mr. Zion, what is your definition of a super PAC? What do you mean?
Well, I was talking about super PAC here. You know, you want to
I don't know.
the interviewer is trying to be the interviewer now, but that's okay here. Are you raising money? There is any political agenda? What is it? We need to know.
All right, I can chime in here. Friends of Gongloe was formed, as you know, LPP was kind of banned back like in the 80s, right?
Right.
From politics in Liberia. So when Councillor Gongloe decided he was going to run for president, LPP has still not gone through that process of restarting the political activities in Liberia at that time. So then Friends of Gongloe was a community grassroots organization founded to support the dream until the political party can get back up, re-energize, and take it up. So even though we all have Councillor Gongloe in common, but we're not the same. And we're not sharing the same box. LPP is a political party. LPP is the organ that Councillor Gongloe is going to use to assume leadership in the country. And Friends of Gongloe is just a grassroots organization of ordinary citizens that are putting that 1 cent, 1 cent together to make sure that better Liberia we all envision will come true. So yes, we do raise money.
Okay.
And we also come on shows like this to talk about it.
All right, good. Dr. Roberts.
Yeah.
So the LPP, I know there have been a little bit rough edges here. So what specifically besides raising money? Because it's not just only getting the guy to the finishing line. I think the support might be a continuity in making sure that he succeeds as well. Besides raising the money, are you guys just going to be talking here, or were you guys? Because some of the people we talk to, they said the election would not be held in America, and which is true. So would this group presence be felt physically in Liberia alongside with the God that you support? Is that what we're going to see happening?
Well, thanks for the question. And just to first define the various groups that are meeting with you right now, we are beyond a super PAC. We beyond a super PAC because we have formed a force that has the ability to mobilize resources, both human and material, to be able to provide the kind of leadership that Liberia needs. And that is why we began first mobilizing Liberians in the diaspora. And the Liberia People's Party is one of the oldest progressive party in Liberia. And historically, we have had several occasions to provide leadership in Liberia. We've also gone to the point of mobilizing Liberians to be able to liberate themselves politically and economically. So where we are today, we have begun a very serious mobilization process to ensure that resources are available to support Councillor Gongloe, to ensure that people understand what he stands for people to also know that he's a patriot. In the early 90s, when people were needed to put the pieces of Liberia together, that the Tiawan said Gongloe was already in the United States. He was already in exile. When he was called upon, after even getting admission at a university, he decided to leave the school and he went back to Liberia to work with the progressive government of the late Dr. Amos Sawyer. That is the kind of person we see. So the force we have right now is beyond a pack. We raise money, we mobilize people, we ensure that ideas are available, and we are also researching every sector of the Liberian government, making sure that we understand what goes on in the educational sector, how can it be improved. We're also looking at agriculture, what can be done there, how can we have a better a system so that we'll be able to feed ourselves. We also gone beyond to basically look at the quality of life. What is security? What happens in the security sector? How can that be improved? We're also looking at leisure. We also looking at the possibility of creating a society wherein the gap between the have and the have not is going to be narrow. Beyond that, we're looking at the how can we improve the gross domestic product, which is one of the indicators of a better economy and a better country. And looking at it right now, look at the amount of industries in Liberia. Look at the disposable income that people have. About 80% of the people are unemployed. So we also looking basically at the possibility of considering a system that is going to work in the interest of the ordinary person. Our standard bearer also talk about education.
Not to interrupt you, Dr. Rabo, you're going to be looking at systems. Specifically, what systems are you looking for that are going to work for ordinary Liberian?
The system that will work would be, for example, an educational system that has some level of uniformity across the entire country. For example, we talk about, let's say, nursery, let's say pre-K to 12 education. What are the standards that are already in place? How can these standards be improved? You're talking about tertiary education. If we're talking about investment coming to Liberia, do we have the manpower, which is one of the factors of production? And those are the areas that we're looking at. And as that the man pointed out, she's one of those that is setting the educational system. So we consider each aspect of the entire place to be a system. If you look at agriculture, how do we feed ourselves? Those are the areas that we are currently looking at. And of course, I understand that people in the diaspora don't vote, but we have the economic power and we are also Liberians and we have to participate in what happens in Liberia in order to create a better standard of living and quality of life for our people. And that is why Council of Glo is all working on it seriously. And we hope we're going to achieve that in October.
Wow. This group, it appears to me some sort of skeleton administrations is being put in place in the background, which I really love. And I hope to be proven wrong here, because most of the folks that come here, before I go to Dr. Mann, brilliant idea, but when you ask them, they say, oh, I mean, I'm not looking for a job. I'm doing that for the Liberian people. No. I don't want to hear that, because you can't take this guy and just dashing and just leaving there. Then that seems to be a little bit, that seems not to be right. And we intend to have really concrete conversation, because there are a lot we need to know. Talking about education here, Dr. Mann, let me just bring you in here. What is really alignment if you look at the educational system, or that you think he Council of Gongloe, with your help now, that seems to be something that you revamp. If Council of Gongloe were to be elected president today, let's look at the educational system in Liberia. What could be a possible proposal that you will put forward, or you think that he's going to address on day one?
Well, the great thing is that we have a committee or team of wonderful people who are educators and some of them not. that are working. So it's not just me. And I just want to give credit to the wonderful people that are on the team, on the committee that I chair. But so what we're working, we coming up with some ideas. We're looking at what it looked like, the education system looked like in the past and what it looks like currently. And we also compare it to, especially those that are in the diaspora that we have, that we were privileged to be a part of the education system here. And we say, what does it look like? And when we compare it to the education system in Liberia, what it is that if I have my kid over there going to school, what would we want it to be like? So that those are some of the things that we're working on. We also compare it to his 10 plan points or 10-point plan. That what it looks like. We want to make sure that we are giving him the information that is needed. So we look at his education system. For example, we look at, what are some of the standards that are in place right now, the practices. Is it up to date? Is it something that you think we can improve on? So those are some of the things that we're putting together. And like you said, we have researchers that are on there on our committee. We're just trying to put some notes together and see how we can improve the system when he becomes the president, and how can we, bring it forward to and say, you know what, we look at the system, some of the studies that the government did, the USAID did, international government organizations that have done on the Liberian education system, what's working, what's not working. So those are some of the things that we're looking at, that we're putting together as a team.
Is he listening to the team?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to think about is that we have leadership. And like I said, we're going by what he's saying, some of the things that he's saying on the campaign trail. We're looking at some of the things, and then we have leadership in place that say, you know what, these are the things that we're looking. So they gave us criteria to work on that is into what his beliefs and standards are when it comes to the education system. And if there are some things that maybe he said that we think that may not work, yeah, definitely. But we can't just tell him this is not going to work. We have to give the reasons why. If he says, well, for example, I'm going to do a certain thing, and we say, well, I don't think maybe, and then you can't say that's not going to work. I always believe that if you think there is a problem, you should also come with a solution. So that's what we're doing. So we're not just creating a problem like, well, like this government is not doing this work and it's not going to work. Why it's not working? And the reason why we think what we propose will work. So those are things that we're looking at.
Okay, let me come to the Secretary General. Is the recorder, I believe, his Kennedy is in regular touch. Mr. Ziokat, February already gone. We are talking about October. The field is crowded. Is your guy having conversation with other Thai opposition in terms of solidifying his political base? And do you care to tell us where his conversation is leading him as far as we are concerned? This group seems to be a powerful group, Dr. Ban, Dr. Rabot, and from what I'm hearing here, you have a very great part and parcel into this whole thing here. We all wondering, the president's already let the cat out of the bed. The vice president would be contesting opposition. Up to this time, Councillor Tiawan Gongloe and the rest of the other opposition, we yet to know who going to be contestant. Liberians are eager. We want to vet people. We don't want to get a surprise. We want to be able to have an opportunity to have a dialogue, because this concept of vice president is a ceremonial position. I don't buy into that. The vice president should be competent as the president. So in the event the president is incapacitated, the vice president will step in at once. Dr. Mann is on board from Visual Expression. So let me ask you, Zioka, how far or when do you think the Liberian people will get to know? You're asking people to rally. They will also want to know who is the vice president, who's going to be the pick of Councillor Tiawan Gongloe. Is the conversation ongoing right now as we speak?
Significantly, the kind of conversation we're having with other political parties, the conversation where we want the elections in our country to be free, fair, and credible. and we want to make sure that the election commission goes by the guidelines or create a condition where we will have our voters to have access to needed information for proper voting. When it comes to the big questions where many of our people in Liberia are asking, who are you going to coordinate with, or are you going to be a vice president? We have not reached that point at this time. What we do know here is that we have the rest of the opposition party, which has one goal, like us. Our goal is to make sure that President George Weah is not re-elected. And the opposition political parties, we will run on our own at this time, but where the need arises for coordination to make sure that we flush out the incumbent, that we're going to do. But at this time, we cannot discuss with you on any social media that, oh yes, we're going to become the vice president to this other political party. That discussion we have not yet reached. Coming back to your previous discussion about system, we want to make sure that we also go deeply into infrastructure system in our country. For example, once we become president, are we building roads because of political reasons? Or are we building roads for accessibility, where our people will go to the farm and get food? Where we're talking about agriculture, we want to make Liberia to be a food sufficient country. These are the kind of things we're looking at. We don't want to build roads and continue to build roads. We want to build roads for durability. We want to make sure that standards are applied to the construction of our roads. We want to make sure that we are not bringing in investor who will build our roads and make the thickness of our pavement to be like 2 inches. We want to make sure that the system of infrastructure will build structure that will be durable for our people. If it has to go for 100 years, then it has to go. So at this time, coming back to that question you asked, we are not in discussion with any political party for collaboration, but we are making sure that we bring the Liberian people together. We make them to know that our standard bearer, Councillor Tiawan Gongloe, is able to handle to handle the process, to handle the country called Liberia.
Let's bring you this developing news and we'll be right back. Okay, we are in conversation with a group calling itself Friends of Tiawan Gongloe, as well as the Liberian People's Party. While we were just talking about, we are hearing from multiple sources tonight, Ambassador Joseph Newman Boyka and Alexander Benedict Cummings. Intensive conversation is going. Most likely, we might have a change in the conversations of the political process in Liberia if that deal is sealed. We're yet to authenticate this new here. Where is the consulate as we speak right now? Is it in Liberia?
Yes, Councillor Tiawan Gongloe is presently in Liberia.
He's
making tours. He's making his tours to the various counties that he needs to make the tour to reaching the people in all of the villages, because we believe that the power belongs to the people and we must reach to them.
Dr. Ban or Rabba, you want to come in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you said where's the counselor? He is in Liberia, currently in Monrovia. I think this weekend he will be going places in Bond County and Limba County, with plans to go to Grand Jide sometime next weekend, sometime next week. So he's in Liberia. He's touching base. One of the trends that he is setting. He doesn't want to be a Monrovia president. He doesn't want to be that president like certain people who only know Monrovia and the town they came from, or let's say what county they came from. He is going to every nook and cranny of the country. He wants to meet with the people. He wants to know what the issues are on the grounds for the people. So he is going where no presidential candidate has gone before. He is trying to get to the people that no presidential candidate ever cared about. And not just because he wants to make a political point, but he wants the Liberian people, whether you were born in the village or a hamlet someplace, to still feel like you belong, to still feel like, you're part of the process. That election is not just what happens in Monrovia or in the big cities. Liberia belongs to you too, because who knows, in the future, we intend to have a Liberia where each and every person in Liberia feels like they're part of the solution, right? And he's going to call, you hear everybody there talking about unity and reconciliation, but the disregard 50% of the population, never speaks to them, never sees them. When he talk about reconciliation and unity, he wants the people to know who's talking. And when he calls on them and say, let's do this, you want the people to stand there and say, yes, we can do this. And yes, we will do this. So he is in Liberia, and he's determined to go to each and every town and village in the country. And that's what we are working on presently.
Let me bring in Dr. Rabbi and I will go back here. You from the Liberty Party, correct?
Liberian People's Party.
Liberian people. I don't know where I'm coming from with the Liberty.
Yeah, I know you keep saying that.
We have a liberal on this network here who is a Liberty Party thing guy here. My apologies. Liberian People Party. But talk to me. I don't know how it looks like. You have folks like Dr. Chris Dubanyan, Larry Toba, and other segments of the progressive from the Liberty Party. The water there, the political water there is being dicey. Is that relationship been similar because they have another group there as well, and many others? You have Councilor Tiawan Gongloe on this. How are these groups here? Any coordination as far as you are concerned, or you have another progressive wing on the other end and you are on the other side? How is it working out?
Well, thanks for the question. And when it comes to the progressive movement in Liberia that started in earnest in the early 70s up to the 80s, where a political party was ultimately formed, you realize that our involvement with people was about liberation, politically, economically, socially, and all that. So it was not just about taking power, but rather enabling and empowering the Liberian people in order for them to properly utilize the power that would be put into their hands. So there were a lot of us that were trained in order to play various roles. If you look at all the politicians and political parties today, 2/3 of those people who are technocrats come from the progressive movement. And progressive look at it from different prism. They look at it from different contexts. So we have a lot of progressives that also think that, well, we have to go this route, and they form various groups. The Liberal People Party is still the home for all progressives. And people make their decision based on how they see the progressive route towards taking power. But if you look at it keenly, every one of us are working towards the same goal. That is to have someone that has integrity, that is going to...
They are taking different directions, Dr. Rabas.
Okay.
Why is the progressive message? The progressive have been in the vanguard for the longest. That is indisputable for anybody to talk. Why is the progressive message not resonating with the Liberian people? What is going on?
Can I come in?
Oh, sure.
Well, you talk about the progressive as if it was a party. And that has not been the case. Being a progressive is an idea. And even back in the day when you and I were back there in the day, they have more than one progressive party. There were UPP, and then there was LPP, and then Cassidy came with UP. So there has never been a time in Liberia when there was just one progressive party. And I don't think back in the day, Sawyer saw himself as an enemy to Bacchus Matthews because they were from two different progressive parties. So the progressive idea that Liberia needs to go to the next level, that we are way behind where we needed to be. That idea is still strong and is still alive. The idea that everybody that considers himself progressive needs to be in one party has never existed. It has never been the goal of this party, and trying to put it on them as somehow is some evidence of ineptitude. If you can bring all the progressive in one party, that would not be fair. It has never been that way. Being a progressive means you're allowed to think freely. And if some other progressives don't think the way we think, it's okay with us, because our thing is to allow people to think and to figure out the best answer they know how for Liberia, not for us to kind of like push the idea that there's only one good progressive in Liberia, and if you are not with us, then you must be against us. That would not be a progressive idea at all. So I think that other line of questioning, we should just let it go. It is not our goal to make sure that all the progressives in Liberia will be from one party. It has never been that way, and it will never be that way.
And
Okay.
to just add up, Afonso, if you critically examine the Liberian political landscape, you're going to see that we all on the side of the progressives do it differently. Like, for example, you hardly see a candidate who is going to start working from the village to the city. That doesn't usually happen. You hardly see a political party that has like a research group. Currently, we are researching the economy of Liberia. We're looking at the gross domestic product. We are looking at unemployment. We are looking at the consumer price index, the major commodities, the prices. How can they be brought down? How can we even grow our own food instead of importing food? So we look at it differently. We are looking at, for example, the total amount of goods that were produced in Liberia in 1970. The goods and services in 1970 was around 416 million. In 2021, the Georgia government is telling the world that our gross domestic product is now 3.51 billion. But look at the country. So this is worth studying to find out why we are getting a total revenue coming from goods and services to amount to $3.5 billion. But yet and still, we don't have schools, we don't have better schools, we don't have hospitals, we don't have roads.
I think
All right, Alfonso, let me just inject a point about our political party. If you can recall, 1985, the Liberian People's Party was banned, and right after that was our civil crisis. So you found out that many of the members of the Liberian People's Party fled the country even prior to the war. And the Liberian People's Party would believe in democracy. And since we could not get the chance to make sure that we institute that form of democracy in our country, and the party was banned due to what Samuel Doe's government felt, many of our members left the party, and yes, of course, they had to go to other political parties to make sure that they gave the helping hand that they needed, like the chairman said, because we were training many disciplines, you see. So this is why you see that, and they are still in those political parties. They have rooted, they have some root in there now, but yet we still have to see kind of we still have to see goal. Want to make sure that democracy, fair and true democracy, exists in our country. And don't forget, the one goal of all of the opposition is to make sure that President Joshua is not re-elected, because any mistake by the Liberian people for the re-election of President Joshua completely will be considered as a suicide for the Liberian people.
Let me bring in Dr. Mann here. And honestly, this is one of the classified and well-informed conversations of late day in terms of looking at not just replacing, but you're looking at critical indicators for which you want to replace this administration. I think that's the conversation we should be having, all our political parties. Sorry, let me come to Dr. Man. On this network, we have a guy here, Sisi Goyo, who is a strong supporter, argue day and night here. The Councillor Tiawan say Gongloe is the right choice. And his emphasis all along is education, education, education. And you measuring that name with other folks here. What could be the approximate amount, or how much do you think, considering all, having this kind of little bit overview, in order to have that sort of quality education, not just only from the university, but from kindergarten all the way, how much you think, if the councillor is elected as president, it could be invested to kind of revamp the educational system, bringing it up to standard? How much you think it's going to cost? I know it might sound a little bit ridiculous here, but when we look at some of the previous budget, they also want quality education, we want good robots. See how much is being put in the budget. How can you put a pin or change and you say you want something of a quality? That's just a joke. Are you guys working on some sort of contingency?
Well, so what I can do is, yeah, what I can do is speak on like these standards and practices and things that we're working on. And for those who are working on like the budget, the financial part can, kind of speak towards that. And you spoke of Sisigo. Yeah, he's one of the people that is also on the committee. So that he, like I said, we wonderful people that are from pre-K, from early elementary to the university, who have worked in the span of those areas. But one of the things that we really are looking at considering, I think I spoke to you previously, is that we want to make sure that some of the things that was I think spoken upon, that some of those waste that are included within there, that we're making sure that we are painstakingly looking at information that are given, because we find that when it comes to like the financial part, and it comes to like money, first thing we want to make sure is that those that are taking the responsibility to educate our future leaders, and I'm talking 0 to 12th grade, that they are well compensated, that they are being paid right and on time. And we want to also make sure that what they're teaching our students, that there is a standard in practices, that whatever curriculum that they're given, it is current. That they're not given, they're not teaching things that are like outdated, but instead something that is as current events that our students are learning. Because again, I refer to them, especially those from 0 to 12, as our future leaders. It is imperative that when we offer any form of education to our students that are coming through our system, whether it's 0 to university level, that we are teaching them, and that we are fair, and then make sure that they have equity in the standard that they're being taught, that the curriculum that is given is up to date, and that we're making sure that we have people that are on the payroll, that are actually on the payroll, which we talk about the waste, that we're not paying people, the ghost people that are still on there. So we want to make sure that we get rid of all of those things. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So additionally, if we going to introduce quality education in our country, of course, we cannot forget technology. We don't want to jump the gun and tell you how much that's going to cost. We want to make sure that the quality education we're going to provide for our country come the leadership of Councillor Gongloe, technology must be included. Our educational system, what we do in them, must commensurate with the modern day form of education. We don't want to have the same kind of academic way we've been teaching other subjects. We still do that in Liberia. No, we don't want to do that. You see, so it's going to cost a lot. We're going to make sure that we give a budget that will represent what a quality education is. That if one kid has, if one kid in the kindergarten is educated, you know that he has the proper education that's commensurate with our present education in this country where we are living today. Thank you.
Let me just chime in here, Mr. So. And when it comes to the educational system, according to USAID, about 54% of young people in Liberia complete primary school. If you look critically, look at the issue of curriculum development, you look at teaching, that the manager mentioned teachers' pay, and if you also consider the kind of resources we have, if our total revenue, the money we rack in from services that are provided in the country, including the goods that are manufactured or produced in Liberia, it will get in $3.51 billion in 2021 alone. You realize that the problem that we have, or that we have had, and we still have, is the fact that there is corruption, the fact that there's also mismanagement, and all they both are correlated to poverty. So the issue we have right now is not about money. It's rather about how can we plan, how can we organize, how can we provide leadership, how can we control the processes of governance. This is where we are right now. So I appreciate the question, but the real issue now is to consider the correlation between what imposes the barrier to a better educational system in Liberia. And that is what we are studying. And that is what we are going to be able to present papers that will serve as a working document for a Gongloe government. And just 2 days ago, he was pointing out again on Case FM that, look, he went into a village and he met a young lady who said she was not in school because she didn't have $1,000 Liberian dollars.
$1,000 Liberian dollar.
Right. And he was shocked, and he was not really shocked because he's a child of the system and he knew the system. So what he did, the two ladies who needed only $1,000 Liberian dollars, he was able to give them the $2,000 that they needed, the Liberian dollars, to go back to school. So the issue here is about the kind of corrupt system that we have, then the kind of mismanagement that takes place. That is why people are not going to school. That is why people are not properly learning. And a child who does not eat or have breakfast in the morning, you expect that child, Franco, to stay in class from 8 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Really? You expect a child that is going to the university that cannot even afford a cup of rice to go to the university and do better? So just watch it. All the kids that come from African countries, including Liberia, they do better in the universities in the states. And I'm saying this because I'm a teacher. I see these students that come from Africa. I see how they perform. Compare with if you have a student that is struggling, that cannot afford a cup of rice a day. So we have to look at it holistically. What can we do as a nation to have a better educational system? Then look at the nursery system. The pre-K, prior to the pre-K, that look at daycare. What happens in our daycare? Do we have daycare? Those are the issues that we are currently studying, and we're going to come up. And the administration of Tiawan Gongloe is going to seriously plan, organize, that is, provide resources for the plan, provide leadership, and make sure that we control the processes so that we'll be able to reset anything that goes off track. That is the role we are on.
And I also want to add that we want to create an education system that is also inclusive of those who have abilities and inabilities. Because oftentimes when we talk about education, we're talking about the typical norm that we have people who may be able to go to school and just learn like the normal thing, right? But we're talking about, we just came from a civil war and we have a lot of kids, some of them now, but at least the adults are the ones that are going that had, we want to also consider abilities, inabilities, are there. And abilities and inabilities can be physical or non-physical. It can also be mental, right, and emotional. So how can we create an education system that appeals to all of the people, all of the stakeholders? And that's not only has to do with the children, what about the teachers? So are we creating a full service that serves the sum of a person? That includes, and the sum of a person is not, it's just like the extended, the tentacles that goes out there. You can talk about, are we creating a service where we're providing services for the families, we're providing services for the students, and also the teachers? Because oftentimes when we talk about an education system, we're not including the support that the teachers would need. So we also want to make sure that we are serving an education system that is conscious of mental health issues that are going on. So I just wanted to put that there also. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy that we are having this conversation here. But folks, my worry here, the processing and the recipients, those who, the electors, and I will sound a little bit ridiculous here because these are things that we're supposed to talk about. One of our local net, they reported this news for the CEO of Spawn Network. He pleaded not guilty. And people took that. I mean, it was restructure, the writing, everything. Oh, they've said the man didn't do anything, and people just running, having that sort of interpretation. I'm saying this to say, with all of these sort of vision, these sort of ideas, these sort of conversation that we are having, the recipient, how can we properly have this translated to them that it is good education, agriculture, infrastructure, all of that? But I want to hear that. They're thinking about what is happening now, what they want to see. And just to add up to what Dr. Rabba was saying here, World Bank and UNESCO, they validated that Liberia is one of the illiterate society, both the ages between 15 and 24. That is a staggering number, 51.7%. So now when you have that sort of society, and you telling people, okay, this is what I have in store for education. I mean, they're looking for immediate solution. I think that's where the challenge is. Let me put this here. While we are talking about AI, all of us know Liberia came from out of a 15, 16-year-old civil crisis. And one of the things that could be talked about to avoid this this sort of dancing style that come with backpack or it's sad. The human capacity to talking about vocational institution where people will be able to learn new skills. When a man is a carpenter, he's supposed to be doing a labor. You don't have time to be running beyond politicians, to be sinking, even though it's a free therapy, they're not paying no money, but it's not doing good to the society. And the politicians enjoys doing that because it suppresses the people. It keeps them down, close their eye, not making them to know, to expose them to good society. Let's look at vocational skills besides the academic one as well. What is the council thinking? And then sort of agenda? I'm not talking about individual senators, representative, collect bare box mattresses from here and say the billionth rehabilitation center. Who does that? What happens when you are out of office, when you are no more senator or collecting $1 or $2 from individual? Those are short term. It doesn't even make sense. That's not what it's supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, we have lawmakers. They are doing these things, and their people are justifying their actions of their behavior. And then yet and still they want good governance.
Yeah. Can I come in?
Sure.
All right. I know you open a big box, and we all jumping in on that topic. Well, the very first thing about education is there needs to be a national vision, right? All right. For example, education in Liberia right now is just a thing. You got people that want high school diploma but don't want to go to school. And if they can pay somebody something, they can still get a diploma. Now, okay, so that's where, like, when education, when there's a national effort to educate the population, there's a vision for it, where you say we want to teach our citizens to become productive citizens of the country, right? Now, what's happening, especially in this current administration and maybe some previous ones, is that the people in power benefit from an illiterate society. The people in power currently do not have any reason why they want to educate the Liberian people, because they know that an educated population will not tolerate the kind of characters that they are. And we even have a president that is proud to call himself illiterate now during the election, even though within the first 6 months of becoming president, he got 2 doctorate degrees. And now he's going back to the public to say, you know, I'm illiterate just like you, because he has no vested interest to make sure that the people are educated. If you have somebody like Councillor Gongloe, who he told me, he said, listen, I've been fighting my entire life from the time I was 19 years old to lift this country up, to lift the population up, right? And there's a bright vision, like we need an education system that will turn each Liberian that goes through that system into a productive person, not somebody that's looking for a phone number to call for help, not somebody that's looking for the next NGO to feed them, but to train your citizens that go through the system to become independent, self-sufficient people. That's how you do it. But you say, how hard would it be to work in an illiterate society? It will be hard, right? I'm not going to lie about it. But here's how we all learn at a different level. Now, when you have the society like what Liberia has right now, the learning strategy is on a concrete level. The Liberian people, they're not stupid just because they are illiterate. They're very smart, but they can only believe what they see. So we can write all the theory paper, we can have all the concept, right? But they can believe what they see. If you were to start one good school district, one good school, public school, that people know that the teachers there are actual teachers, and that the students that go through that school system are actually going to end up with a better future. Everybody will want to go to that school. You understand? And then if we have 10 schools like that, everybody will want to. There are a few schools in Monrovia like that, but they're charging $200 a month or something like that. What if you had a school like that that everybody can go to? They will go to it. It's going to be tough from the start. But once they start to see that something is working, everybody wants a better future, either for themselves or for their children. It's just that the Liberian people are so disenchanted right now because they have not seen it before. That's why when I go to communities, I beg them and say, listen, every good society we have today started with one good example. Look at Rwanda. Look at Ghana today. All of them have one good example. And once the people could see that you can have a president that don't live off the government money, that you can have cabinet ministers that don't steal from the ministry, that you can have a ministry of health that makes sure people don't get sick. If they see it for the first time with their eyes, we will never go back. So while it is true that it's going to be hard, we are determined, we are committed, and we know that Councillor Gongloe is the agent that can make it happen. Because like he said, it doesn't matter how hard we work, if the president not straight, all the effort we're doing down here is not going to work. And he has sacrificed himself to be that one first example of a president that will focus on the country and on the people and not on his self-aggrandizement. And I can promise you, if Liberia, even if he were to serve just one term, and Liberian people see what a president can do when he cares for them, they're not going to accept this Babati thing that's been going on for a long time.
Let's take a quick break, commercial break, guys. We'll be back here. Time of Saye, and so we are in a conversation with friends of Gongloe and the Liberian People
Liberal
Party.
People's Party.
Yeah, I will be right back.
Do you want to share your events with the world? Why not contact us? We are Liberia Public Radio, LPR. We are the specialists in advertisements, commercials, radio and TV services. We have the professionals that can help you sell your products and provide live coverage of all events, such as weddings, conventions, graduations, reunions, anniversaries, sports, birthdays, baby showers, religious activities, funerals, and many more. Take your phone right now and call any of the following numbers: 682-433-8802, 267-648-6089, 484-786-3337, or 916-533-2048. Our customer service representatives are waiting to take your calls and give you the needed assistance. It is LPR, the home of excellent media services and your friends in business.
All right, these the party they've been having too much of trouble here, and so their name just can't using in our mouth. So please don't forgive us. They've been having too much of the drama going on. Yeah, Dr. Roberts, you were trying to make a point.
Yes, I wanted to just add up to what my colleague that Kwan pointed out, and let me start with the UNDP. The UNDP surveys 191 countries in the world. In 2022, the UNDP looked at all the 191 countries Human Development Index. Liberia ranks 0.333. And Liberia Human Development Index 0.333, and Liberia ranked 178.
Goodness.
Among the 191 countries in the world. We almost, but, if you're talking about development is a word that people use, but the major thing that first you develop is the human being in a country. The first thing that you develop is a child that goes to a daycare, that is relaxed, that is fed, that is taught how to do the right thing, that grows up being happy psychologically. Then you are holistically looking at development as an end product of a process. But if you just consider, we want development in this country, but you don't even have people who know how to build roads. You don't have people who can manage hospitals. You don't have an educational system that is free of corrupt practices, like people giving out papers to kids who had not passed a high school test. So the entire process of trying to reset this country, it requires a lot of work. We are aware of that. That is why it is true that we find it daunting. We also think that we should start from somewhere. And that place is to carry out a systematic review of all the problems and put in place one at a time. Even if it is, let's approach education. Where are we starting from? How are we going to go about it? What is the sector? Let's say pre-K. Let's look at pre-K education and set it up in place. Then you're talking about development in the next maybe 2-3 decades. But where we are right now, we need someone that Tiawan Gongloe, who has the ability and the understanding to reflect on his own upbringing and all what he has gone through as a progressive, to provide a better leadership with some level of integrity that will help us to get to where we want to get. All the sectors should be able to pick up. Once you have a leader that is a transformational leader, that is a servant leader. That is the starting point, and that is why we are here to tell you.
And
That is,
and and so
yeah.
let me just bring it back.
Maybe you will add this. Let me add a little bit later, and then maybe you can conclude it with you, Dr. Ban, or even Dr. Man. That is why we are here to do this. But your guy, in his own word, he will not mingle with politicians that are contaminated. And the glaring fight here, no one political institution will get that 51 plus 50 plus 1. And it also is all of the oppositions, they agree one thing, that the only way Liberia can be redeemed in their war or whatever, not to have make this president a one term. So
We are not hearing.
is he closing the door on himself? If he will not form like whatever alliance with other political parties to make sure that this president is a one term, and saying that they are contaminated, I hope to talk to him on that here. But here, what we are hearing, it simply suggests that, well, you don't want to do business with those old hands because he's what? How is that workable? To our analyst, the link is also out. So, just, but you can go ahead, Zioka.
So let's just go back to the vocational before I come to that question.
Mm-hmm.
I think William R. Tower Jr. Dr. William R. Tower Jr. knew that vocational institution is one of the ways in which you can develop the human resources. That is, those who never had the opportunity to go to complete high school, or if they completed high school, they come out and have nothing to work with their hands. So the education law, section 3.4 of that law, was amended in 1976, where all high schools built in the Republic of Liberia must have vocational section. Now, if you go to Liberia today, all of the high schools, like Dr. Kwan said, those high school people just put there for money. Not even 1% of any of the high school have vocational institution. That is the breach of the law of our country. Our president, our standard bearer, believe in the rule of law, and he has made it unequivocal to our people that once he becomes president of the nation, the young people, those that are in the street driving motorbikes, we call it, endangering their own lives, they will be given skills. This means that if you want to build a high school in Liberia, you must get ready to abide by section 3.4 of our education laws. You must have vocational institution in that place. Look at Grand Bassa County for an example. Wellingborough is no longer in existence. This was an institute, vocational institution, being operated by LAMCO at the time. Meta Steel is taking a lot of money, but cannot revamp the system. Kids are, young people.
For that?
Huh?
Who's responsible for that?
The government is responsible for that. Okay. Now, young people from Grand Bassa County have to go all the way Nimba. Okay, to learn some vocational things before they come back to Grand Bassa County. More besides, many of our young people, because there is not skills for them. When the Chinese bring a company and ask who can drive yellow machine, nobody can drive yellow machine. So they have to bring an expatriate to drive yellow machine. So we are sure that a standard bearer, a man like Captain Councilor Tiawan Gongloe, who knows the people feeling, who feels the people feeling, who wears the same shoe of the Liberian people, who is educated, who is a teacher, whose father was a teacher, he will make sure that skills are given to our people. Skills are given to our people through vocational institutions. And once the kids when they are graduating from high school and they have these skills, I taught my how. William V.S. taught my how. I graduated from there with a certificate in architecture drafting. That encouraged me to expand my education into the engineering section. I mean, it could happen to anybody else. So there is a need for vocational institution to be attached, vocational section to be attached to all of the high schools. And I'm very sure that when Gongloe becomes president, he will make sure that the rules of laws, those laws are on the book, will bring them up. And I think I would defer that question to the chairman to see what he can answer as to where are we with.
Let's bring in Dr. May. I think from what I'm trying to signal here, and I think that's a very great point here, because with the society that we have now, I think skills is more or less is vital to keep people off and get them to visit. Dr. Mann, do you have a piece to add?
Yeah, I'm listening to Mr. Zoga, and I'm like, he is so on point and right, because the thing here is that one thing that we have to put out in the universe is that the Liberian people as a whole, even our young children, they're inherently smart. You see that a kid can, or a person in school, they create educational school will do is just enhance what they already have, the skills that they already have, and maybe show them another way how to package it and market that. So I think we have to give kudos to our Liberian people out there. They were creative when it came to the war, and something that they never were exposed to. Some of us, I was in the war myself. And you have to be creative, because there is no way you have to live life, especially for those families who had children. So our Liberian, we have that heritage within us that we can do it. And in instituting any vocational school or any practices, even for adults, those that may not think that, that they or may think that they've surpassed the age range to be in school, that we can say, listen, we just want to enhance the skills that you already have. And the rules of laws that applies to that is that we just have to make sure that the people that we are servicing, that they are understanding that the counselor, how is he starting? Like Dr. Kwan said, he said that he's not the president, the presidential candidate for Monrovia only. But you see that he is building those practices by going that further in, like going to towns and villages and interacting with the people, asking them what are their needs, what are the wants, making sure they are heard, making sure that they know that their voices are heard and that they will be represented. And by doing that, making sure that, they're listening to him and they're being included in whatever, in his presidential race that he's running, the campaign that he's running. So we just want to make sure that we bring that up and point that, we want him to be a president of, as he said it, he's the president of rule of law. He's going to be the president of, I see someone else, sorry. He's going to be the president of rule of law. That's going to be, making sure that his constituents, are included. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, good. We have contributors here on this network, also form part of our national conversation. Some of them have their own political page. I'm surprised. Saye here tweeting crazy from Minneapolis. I guess you're going to be. So the link is out there, Saye, and the rest of the contributor to why we have this conversation. But I think this is one of the substantive conversations that of late, because instead of people just coming throwing things out there without any specific we got being entertained. I mean, we just sick and tired now. These surrogates supporters, they need to come with something, with some flesh on the bone as to how and why they are supporting these people. And I hope we're going to be having this time to time here. We want to welcome our own contributor here, Jones Mallet here, right here from the Ocean State of Rhode Island, guy who also in the educational area here. So I think this is a very perfect conversation here. Good evening, welcome to Jones. I guess you've been following here If you have your questions, you can also throw it in. So, Dr. Bang,
Yes, sir.
let me bring you here. It look like yeah, talk to what would be the role, because this seems to be like the center of gravity, the driving force of Councilor Tiawan Gongloe. I'm quite sure you get a big political tone or message in this whole thing here. Talking for him, what will you see him doing? Will you come back here in the event? Politicians, they are slippery. They're quick to pivot. They're quick to change. They're quick to get accustomed to when they get in there. You are making all of these arguments here in the event. I'm just saying this for discussion purposes. Will you come back here to this LPR here, because this is the let me bring in Sister Goya. This is the dishonest part of our politicians. They are not apologetic. I never seen very suddenly our Liberian politician to say no, and I would be. Let me just say, even the president, for not even to signal to say yes, things are hard, and they just think everything is okay. That is just, it's amazing to see them doing that. It is not going the way as you anticipate, and you selling this guy here. Will you come back here or any other network to say, you know what, this is what I thought at the time, but I made a wrong choice? Will you look in the face of the camera to say that?
Are you seeing my eyes? All right. Okay. So, back in the day, like in 2005, I was one of those people that also campaigned for the winner of that election, the eventual winner. And then after the election, they invited me to Liberia. Like, man, we all fought for this thing. My LA has won. Like, no, I didn't fight for a position. I didn't fight for something. I just found out that in the end, the two people that were running at that time, she was a better candidate. And that's why I'm there for. Now, I am not sucking up to Tiawan Gongloe or Councilor Gongloe or anybody on this forum for any reason at all. I'm only here because I believe what I'm saying, that I see Councilor Gongloe as a true representation of the vision of Liberia we see. And like I said, he may not have all the solution, like the chairman said earlier, but he's a starting point. And I said earlier, I said, one of the issue we have on the grounds in Liberia is the Liberian people have never seen a president that was honest, or a president that didn't steal from the government, the president that didn't take the national treasury and then transfer it to their own family and friends. They've never seen that before. I truly believe. I asked Councilor Gongloe the very same question. And here's what he told me. He said, but man, I have spent my whole life struggling for my name. I'm 65 years old now. I see this as my last service to this country.
Wow.
If the thing I've been fighting for since I was 20 years old, if I spoil it for the last 6 years of my life will have been for nothing. So he too has a skin in this game to stick with this thing. And you will hear him say several times, he said, I am beholden to my conscience and to my country.
Okay.
Right? And I will hold him accountable to that. And the day it feels like it's getting shady, I will come back here. If I don't come voluntarily, you got my contact, call me. I'll come here and I will hold the Liberian.
I will scream or say, will be forced.
Goya knows where I live. You'll bring me back. I will hold the Liberian people fort and I will tell them no man.
Okay.
But let's have
let's have Dr. Mento make a closing point here. I know a lot is ongoing. Everybody pressing their button here and there. Dr. Mento, I guess you Yeah, a lot of things ongoing. And what is the message you want to leave with us before we let you go?
Well, is it me that's leaving or everyone's leaving?
Well, I'm getting a message here that you get another something in the making, right?
Okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel. It's wonderful conversation, getting to know the counselor. Like I said previously, I was fortunate to have a one-on-one conversation with him, and just going back to his past history and see the work that he has done, and that he's been the person who, not just a poor man lawyer, but has also been on the front line, working with the people and for the people. I just love the idea that when we're being inclusive of everyone, we're talking about even zero, and I'm just going to add zero about pre-K to when it comes to education, to university. Oftentimes, as an early educator, I even being a part of the union here, I had a fight to say we have to include pre-K, but to hear that even from its inception, that he is including or inclusive of just early educators from early education all the way. So he continued to speak to my passion every time he speaks out, especially when he's been a representation of his words, his actions, and he's not quitting. So I'm going to continue to soldier for him and fight for him, the rights for the people, the nation of Liberia, because I think that we can do better, and a better Liberia is possible. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank
I
you.
want to say goodnight to everybody. Thank you for allowing me to leave early also.
Thank you so much. We hope to see you again another time.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Sister Goya is joining us. Is a strong supporter and a voice here for Councillor Tiawan Gongloe. Our man, Mala Jones, is also here. Guys, let me just bring you here. Sister, I see you smiling. This seems to be a huge day. It looks like you all were behind this whole thing here. Now it's been unveiled. Dr. Man, you part of this committee here. Is there anything specific you want to add up to your colleagues, the argument being made here about Councillor Gongloe?
Well, not a lot, because I think they've done a good work, and that's why you see me laughing. I'm smiling because I've been watching it. I was supposed to be on with them, but I had school this evening, so I was coming home and watching it in the car. And I was excited because when you get people who know what they're talking about and the character they're talking about, they're not doing guesswork, right? So it's difficult for them to find it hard to talk about. Anything you know about really well, you can talk about it so easily. So I seen that flowing, and Dr. Mann, did talk about, for full disclosure, even though I am a contributor on this network, I support Tiawan Gongloe, but I'm also on the education committee, and then I'm also on the publicity committee also. And the thing Dr. Mann talked about, Councillor Gongloe is passionate about ensuring that education from pre-K to college and career readiness is available and is quality. Because the way the councillor sees this is that education is a property right. In our constitution, it talks about the right of liberty and the right to property. Well, you don't own property most times if you don't have education. And so if you deprive people of quality education, you're depriving them of a property right. And so the councillor sees it that way, and he thinks that Liberia should be number one in the forefront of providing quality education throughout, especially pre-K and the beginning stages. And so I'm excited. I listened, and I heard a question you asked about, where would the money come from? And we keep saying, the councillor keeps talking about waste in government. If you can take a lot of those waste in government, there's a lot of money that goes through waste that can be repurposed and reallocated to education, to healthcare, and to other things. And currently, the Liberian budget is what? 20% should be for education, and that is not even yet fully funded. And so I think what the council is pushing for is fully funding education. And that is both for people who have abilities and people who lack some abilities. And just real quick, anecdotally, I had a cousin who failed second grade 4 times, second grade, 4 years in a row. Same teacher, same student, 4 years in a row at a public institution. And the community and all of us, now I know better, but all of us back then laugh at him, we clown him, we say he was dull. Think about that. If a child is with the same teacher failing 4 years in a row and nobody thinks that there is something wrong, maybe with the way the teacher is not delivering instruction with the way the students learn, and nobody thought to even think about, is there a special need? Does this child has a special need? Is there a special education situation going on here? We didn't. They kept throwing him back in the same classroom. He kept failing, throwing him back. They kept failing. Those are stories that can be replicated throughout Liberia in a lot of instances. And that's what the council is looking at, trying to make sure we revamp special education and make sure that we are offering education to people based on the way they learn. And we are training our educators to understand and appreciate that. And so, Councilor Gongloe, I'm excited to be on the team with these smart people. I am by far not the smartest in this group, so I'm learning a lot. But I think Councilor Gongloe has done the Liberian people well by bringing these very smart people together to kind of put forward a plan to rescue Liberia.
Okay, we want to welcome our own Dualo from our sister network, The Drive. Dualo and the people, Dualo, it's good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us here. I think we need to have this sort of mixture to have these. We got to force people to listen to what they need to listen to, not necessarily what they need, what they want. And that's what we don't do on this network.
Well, Mr. So, we're coming back to the drive. The last time the chief driver was here. Now the chief McKinney here. Hey, Dualo, how you doing, my brother?
Dualo been doing a lot of extensive writing or other things here. So let's we just want to tap into everybody's expertise. Guys are going to be coming to you. Let me go to Jones. Jones.
Yeah.
Let me just bring you in here. This is to get this. Is that something God there? Well, everybody get your area. That's your area here we are talking about. Why is so significant? Why is so important? Why are we not having a conversation? Why are these people that are even seeking national office, they want to be president for that will? Why are we not hearing in details of their educational agenda, their infrastructure, their health, agriculture? But they said they want to be president, and we are not hearing much. Why are we not getting into them? Why is it important that we need to start this conversation now?
Well, thank you, Executive Director. I think the problem here, I really don't see much problem, but I think we need to go back a little bit into history. Councillor Gongloe is not only the first performing presidential material artist on this stage. We've heard the messages before. For instance, when Dr. Saye was appointed interim president November 22, 1990 in Accra, Ghana, we regarded him as one of our icons in Liberia. And the international community were even convinced that this guy would take Liberia far, and why. Dr. Saye was appointed the interim president. He almost consumed a constitutional era in our office, almost 4 years and plus. When Dr. Saye was stepping down, there was nothing like auditing, accountability. Most of we, the young college students, felt that, well, the professor has come and things will be fine for Liberia. Now we have an interim government.
And then what happens?
And some of us were disappointed. Yes, were drastically disappointed. Dr. Saye got all the support from the great United States, from the global community, and they were looking up to him. I may stand to be corrected.
Yes.
I never saw one transformation. All right. May his soul rest in peace. Again, the 24th president of Liberia Her Excellency, former President Sally Johnson. She became president 2006 to 2018. And most of all went in for her. And we felt she had all the connection to perform the political miracle in Liberia. We felt she was linked up with the international community. We felt she would have been the best person to bring a lot of transformation in Liberia, changing mind and changing attitude, and really taking Liberia to the next level. I became disappointed again. Today, we have another presidential material on stage. As usual, when everyone is coming, you have a follower who believes in your political philosophy. But what I notice about my country is that saying it is one thing. Getting into the executive mansion is a different ball game. It seems to be the executive mansion has got some magical stuff there that transform people when people should use it to transform the country. I don't want to doubt Councillor Gongloe, but if I want to hold up to the past, then I may want to judge him unfairly. So a president is never judged by history until he leaves office. Councillor Gongloe will say all the best thing. One, I know most of the politicians in Liberia, there's something called membership deficit. They're looking for members everywhere. You see. So even the killer will come.
As you close your
if you allow me to push back a little bit, please.
You guys will have your data. Let's do it. Have you closed your membership chapter based on
let me just close. Yes. So most of these politicians, politics is about strength and numbers. When they are not there, you become like a barren woman who cannot bear children. So, Councillor Gongloe, he has got good messages. I've been following his trend. But between him and the executive mansion and implementation, that's a different ball game. I yield my time.
That's where your apprehension is?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to come to you guys, gentlemen, fairly. Let me bring in Dualo here and Saye, Dr. Barnes, and Robert, and the rest of it. Dualo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Okay, so people look at past history and how skills of apprehension kicks in because of things that are happening in the past. But I think we are having this sort of conversation. Do we need to be more forceful so that these expiring themselves to come clean, or even to their surrogate, like how the Gongloe teams are taking the bull by the horn? I mean, that's honestly the first time to see a team coming to come really to have a conversation of substance here. Do we need to step out our games, regardless of people, even other platforms, people that are support for the good of the country?
This is what I'm going to say, and I want to welcome everybody else. Welcome to the show, guys. Look, the people of Liberia, for the last 175 years, they have not played their part in government to ensure government works. There is this tendency in Liberia, and it's very easy. Everybody tends to do this, and I believe it's a ridiculous way to approach governance. We believe the leadership are going to deliver in isolation, or we're forcing them to deliver. There is no society. No society. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. You brought me forward.
Yeah. I just wanted to know who the
There is no society. There is no society on God's green earth that has worked without the people forcing the issue. There is a tendency in Liberia. We become complacent and we expect vainglorious men to deliver to the society what we expect them to deliver. It doesn't work that way. The issue has to be forced. Mr. So, you asked a question before you give it to my brother here. I believe his name is, I can barely read his name, but the last guy that spoke before me. You say, the political parties have no philosophy. Obviously, they're not going to have one. We don't expect it from them. The last election, President went to absolutely no debate. He's planning not to go to any debate. We accept mediocrity to its very bottom, and then we expect diligence and prudence at the end. This is lunacy. It doesn't work that way. The people must take their proper place. Look, if you read our Constitution, it's very clear. In the very first article, the people. There is a cardinal reason why the people are put in that position. The people, nothing that you want in this country is going to come to fruition until the people act upon it with force. Look, before I give it to you guys, I'll tell you what George Washington said. He said, government is not reasoning. Government is not eloquent. Government is forced. Like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Until the people force the issue, it's not going to work. Think the Boston Tea Party. Think the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Spanish Civil War. Until Liberians are willing to pay a price for what they want, nothing is going to change. This is how nature is. I'll give it back to you guys.
Yeah, okay. Before Dr. Robert come in, willing to pay the price. We don't want to leave our people here with ambiguity. What sort of price are you talking about, Dwalo?
A price for the evolution of proper medical facilities in the country, a price for education, a price where if a representative goes to the legislature, if for 6 years, after the first 1 year, he's not doing it, we impeach him. The president is not doing things, you impeach the president. There's a price to pay. The people must stand up to the governmental institutions. If we are not going to build institutions, it's not going to work. There is nothing going to be given to you in a silver platter. Look, we live in this country with all the progress that America has made. Guess what? There are still riots in the streets because they keep fine-tuning their institutions. The price I'm talking about, I'm not talking about violence, even though sometimes violence is required. Look, let me tell you something. Mao Zedong said this best. If the leadership do not fear the people, that country can never progress into another realm. The leadership must fear the people, fear the wrath of the people. This is what it is in every country. Don't take my word for it. There are thousands of books. Go read them.
Dr. Roberts?
Yeah, I think I do agree with Dualo 100%. I'm going to respond to my own brother and friend, Junes Otavius Mali, later on. But if you look at a picture that Dualo has painted, it projects what the Liberian People's Party is. We have fought a fight. We have lost a lot of comrades in the battles. So today it is a rallying call. There's a need that we join forces to support a progressive who is willing to lay down his life for this country. If you look around us, our membership here in the United States comprises exiled Liberians. You look keenly. There's a guy called Charles Kamara. He's one of the greatest fighters. There's a guy called Dempster Yala. He been in exile for almost his whole life. Even the Kmanado that Dr. Kmanado around here, he's also someone that has been in exile. So LPP has been willing to fight a fight. We don't just sit back, support people, and think that, okay, we're going to agree even if they are not doing fine. Garbage in, garbage out. We have fought a fight. We fought the Torbot. We fought Samuel Doe. Our party was banned. We went on the ground. We worked on the ground. We resurrected. We led an interim government. And to Mr. Mali's point, it was not about the late Dr. Amos Sawyer being in charge of Liberia. The mission there was to establish peace in Monrovia, the capital city of Liberia. And Dr. Amos Sawyer was being protected by a force from the West Africa region. So let me tell you this. We were the first people that restored some level of peace in Liberia. We were able to establish freedom of speech in Monrovia today that you are enjoying. People in Monrovia could get up, go on Broad Street, and insult Dr. Sawyer. It was okay. Radio stations were set up. No radio station was ever closed when Dr. Sawyer was the interim president. And this is what happened next. After 4 years and after several studies, Dr. Sawyer and the progressives decided, hey, let us give power to the warlords if this is going to end the war. Isn't that another way of telling you that, look, I'm patriotic? That was the first man who stepped down. I'm no more going to be an
Was that he, or was that their court mandated him to do that?
The government that was in power started the system. After all the peace talk, the government that was in power gave the room for all the other warlords to establish a system of co-equals. So it was not a one-sided debate that led to the formation of a government of co-equals, where where all the parties participated. So I'm saying that a progressive government had the audacity to step down in order for peace to come to Liberia, and our people lay down their lives. So we have to face the fight and take the bull by the horn, as Dualo put it. And we are the only party prepared right now, as I'm talking to you. We are well prepared to support Councillor Gongloe to the end. If it comes to power, we are also prepared to tell you that our decisions are going to be based on evidence. It's not someone sitting down and lording over the people like the other political parties you have, where there's a one-man leader. The Progressive Party always say, look, Councillor Gongloe, you are only going to be a standard bearer if you go to convention. And we took him to the convention, and there was election, and he won the election. How many parties do hold convention in Liberia? So this is where we are. We are prepared to take the bull by the horn, and we can tell you that the future is bright if we just follow what Dualo has listed here. You cannot say so apparently and things are going to change. Oh no, it's not going to be.
Sister?
So my brother, Mr. Jones, from the beginning had me, and then he went around in a circle and gave me a whiplash. I think he attempted to create a basket of deplorable and kind of make Tiawan to own that. I don't understand the line he's drawing, or he attempted to draw from Amos Sawyer and his perceived failures to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her perceived failure, and to Tiawan Gongloe. I don't see it. I think it was a failed attempt at trying to get Gongloe to be accountable for the failures of other people when he didn't have control over them. And he's right. You cannot judge a leader if they haven't led. But let's tell you that Tiawan has led. Tiawan Gongloe would have run for senatorial position during Ellen time. He opted to serve his country as Solicitor General A and B as Labor Minister. And when he felt that his conscience could no longer allow him to participate in a system that was not benefiting the Liberian people, he left. What more do you want to show integrity? There are people walking around in the streets of Monrovia today that are both ruling party and opposition politicians that have benefited from the gift of God given to Tiawan Gongloe. Moran Molu was taken out of jail when he was put in jail, free of charge, by Tiawan Gongloe and represented. Right? The likes of there's so many of them. Journalists, politicians, activists, everybody. The Economic Freedom Front, all of them, pro bono. He doesn't have money to give to people because he doesn't believe that in order for you to do good for people, you have to first steal from them and then give back to them. He doesn't believe that. What he does believe is that what God has blessed him with, which is his intellect and his ability, he will give that back to people by offering pro bono services. So I don't really understand where the wavering was here, but it wasn't lost on me though that when you talk about governments, you talk about the failures of the Sawyer government and the failure of the Sirleaf government, and you ran straight to Gongloe as if to say there is a vacuum between Ellen and now. Right? So let's be very fair. Let's be very clear. Tiawan Gongloe is not claiming to be a saint. What we are saying here is that when you look at the totality of his work, we can say that this is somebody who's has worked in the private sector. He runs his own law firm, so that's a private sector. He's worked to elevate institutions. When he was Solicitor General, he closed down the black site prison that was under the Ministry of Justice. That's where political opposition members used to be tortured. He closed that down. He made sure that people who are going to be prosecuting people in counties, these county attorneys, he made sure that they were graduates of law schools so that you didn't have quacks judging people, which is a way to violate people's rights. He did that. When he went to the labor ministry, he's working there. So I think, Mr. Jones, it's unfair to try to create a basket of deplorable and try to make Tiawan Gongloe own that when in fact he did not have ownership of that.
Okay, this is LPR. Views and opinions are always expressed. We don't sanction voices here as long as it's done in a civil context. You know, it's about our country. We're not talking about individual homes. So you want to always have this sort of a dissenting views of or whether they will be welcome or not. but we can intellectually engage and draw that sort of fine line of demarcation here. Dr. Ban.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thank you. First, I don't think I can add to what Brother Goya said about Mr. June's comment.
If for coalition with him,
when you get, like, if he were to put himself in any of those people's shoes, right? The way I used to give an example back after the 2005 election, it was like I'm a clinical practitioner, right? It's like somebody just had an accident in the hospital, they're bleeding, their kidney busted, their heart busted, and you get a president there that's trying to make sure they stay alive, right? And then somebody can say, okay, how can the man I get shoe on? Okay, how can he in the hospital but he get closer and bus showing? It's like there's hierarchy of needs. So I'm not going to judge Sawyer at that time because I knew or I didn't know what his mandate was totally. But like Saye, I would say, we can say because we had issue with how Sawyer governed, then we need to have an issue with how Tiawan will govern. Those two characters, there's a big difference between them. Just because they are both considered progressives, they still have personality differences. And I think we should be fair about that. Now, coming to Dwalu's point, all right, the reason Liberia is still by 80% illiterate today is by design. All right. For example, the current president the current administration has no incentive to improve education in Liberia because he knows that when we elevate the discussion, it was not even going to last. You understand? So if you want to go far back, you can go far back. Before you guys came on, Chairman Roberts and I were talking back from the Tauber days, said there was still a design to keep the majority of Liberian people illiterate and keep them that way. Because as long as they are illiterate, and even making it worse with this administration, they're not just illiterate, but keep them hungry, right? So as long as they are looking for food, as long as they are more concerned with what they can eat today, other thing we're talking, they're not watching it. They're not talking about what will happen to their children tomorrow if they are thinking about what to feed the children today. So in some countries, this is even considered a crime against your country. A country should be able to feed itself. If you become a president, you don't even have a plan on how we will eat, right? 80% of the imports that 80% of the imports that come to Liberia is food. If we have a government that does not have any plan to change that, 80% of the people in Liberia are illiterate. If we have a government that has no plan to change that, it's by design. It's not about mistake. So we can say other things, and like Dwalu was saying, it would be nice if we had a population that knew what their rights were. When I talked to Saye sometime a couple of weeks ago, he said, when I was in school, we took a class called civics, where they taught us what our rights were, what citizens' rights were, what the Constitution said your rights were. Majority of the people in Liberia don't even know what I'm talking about, right? So they don't teach civics in school in Liberia anymore. So we have a population that don't even know their rights. So we got a big problem. And like I said earlier, it's not going to change by mistake.
Okay.
But if you have a visionary that's willing to give the Liberian people, even if it's just for a short period of time, what a good president is supposed to be like. When the Liberian people see one for the first time, they will not accept mediocrity again. We might take a while to get to where we want to get, but that will be the day we start marching towards that place.
All right. The panelists are going to be here with me for maybe a half hour before we wrap it all here. Molly Jones, you're going to have your day as well. So we get it square out what we're going to be holding the administrations of the late Amos Claudio Concomitant Sawyer, right? That's the guy, that's the one of the war he brought that caused him to stay. That things must be done concomitantly. There must be this army and election. The men are genius. You put it in there without local go.
So it's hierarchy of needs, though. There's hierarchy of needs. There's certain things you got to face first before you go to the next one.
Go to the next level.
The next one.
Yes.
If this thing down here, the foundation is not laid out, you can fix the thing up here. And if the foundation is taking you 5 years to do, and then somebody say, how can the house not get a roof?
You talk to him
because we even got a foundation.
The guy was a genius.
What people were saying, it must move concomitantly.
That's it. It has to be.
And you know it was not possible. You can't hold this up. The other people at the same time. But guys, I think it was a very good conversation. Malit and Dualo, Stacey, you're gonna be here. Let me go to Genius here. We can keep them here. We hope to have them. I think there's a need that this sort of conversation continues, especially people who are putting their faces out to support these people, to have this sort of conversation. I think it will help the electors to make informed decision instead of us creating another revelation cinema to be having this sort of theater sort of conversation. Conversation without substance is not doing us good. We are causing more harm. Zioka, let me just bring you in here. You know, I told you guys yesterday he's the guy that is for counselor here, and I mean, yeah, and it's good to have this stuff here. We are going to take leave of you guys before you guys can go. What we should be looking out for in the next coming days, week. We are hearing in the background extensive conversation is going on. The boycott folks and the ANC folks, they have come to realize their bitterness, their resentment, yet and still the one they have this president as a one term, but they're not even helping one another. Only LPP is not in this sort of drama thing here. I mean, they are causing complete distraction to the process. It's just ridiculous, and nobody is taking charge. Apparently, there's a big boy in the room now trying to put their pants up to do what is right for the country, not necessarily for them. How is your guy keeping eyes on this process as well?
Let me just come out straightly. We've been hearing our standard bearer continue to say, look, if the CPP was still standing, you won't see Councillor Tiawan Gongloe running as the president. He made that very clear in one of his deliberation on one of the television show. And the reasons why you see I am running for the presidency is because the Liberian people has lost their hope because of the CPP, and so now I'm coming in the picture. So now, if the CPP decide to reunite, it's a good thing.
Is that a genuine argument, not to interrupt you, Zioka? Is that a genuine point there? Or is it some sort of political weakness? If this guy dead, I will have no accommodation. So let me just get out of it instead of me being politically weak. Politicians are very strategic in making
Can I come in?
Yeah.
All right. This is my personal opinion. I mean, I have talked to the councillor extensively. I am not giving a position of the councillor or of the party, but from my own understanding. Okay. Liberia is not going to be fixed by a marriage of convenience. You understand? So, like when Councillor Gongloe comes to this country, he and I hangs out a lot. And then when discussion of things like this come up, he said, okay, what do you know Cummins stands for? All the problems in Liberia, what do you know Cummins stands for? I mean, one time he was popular for Mr. Clean Hands, and next thing you know, Louise Brown is a speaker and all these other people there, right? Okay. And then he said, how about Pape Boaka? The whole 47 years. pick up one topic or one issue in Liberia that you can name and say, yeah, what Papa Boaka stand for in Liberia, right? He said, and then come to me. Almost every issue in Liberia, I get opinion on it, right? So then it's like, okay, it's not up to, because everybody knows where he stands on a lot of the issues, right? So then it's like, if there's going to be a marriage, it's going to be like, okay, here's where I stand. You tell me where you stand. It will not be like, okay, the reason the CPP failed the first time was everybody, the thing that brought them together was practically a matter of hate. Well, we hate upon. It was not like a matter of love, like we love each other and we want to work together. It was like, no, we hate upon, so let's get together and be upon. And then when it comes to the nitty gritty, then the fighting starts. Even with what is going on now, I just think they're just talking, right? Because unless two of them can tell us exactly where they stand on the issue, where do they stand when it comes to corruption? Where do they stand when it comes to education in the country? What are they willing to do? When it comes to the drive that we want to be able to be a country that feeds itself, where do they stand on that? What are they willing to do? We have let out our positions. Here's where we stand. Here's where we want to go. We are open for discussion with anybody that sees what we see and is willing to work towards the goal that we are moving toward. But it's not like, okay, let's just get together and be open with no good position thing that where all the infighting starts.
Okay, guys, few seconds, you can make your argument so that, go ahead, Dr. Rabo or Zoka, one of you.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah, we feel
there's,
that.
there's a Latin word that say Latin phrase that says pro Dio e patria, that is for God and country. LPP, the Liberal People's Party, is standard bearer. They are prepared for God and country to make decisions tomorrow that will benefit modern Liberia. Importantly, I also have news for you that unlike other political parties, instead of just talking about what, which is elections, we're going to be talking about how in the next few months to come prior to the campaign. That is, we're going to present you with a platform that you will look at, that you will read, that you will discuss in order to be part of this process. This is a revolution. It's going to take place. And we hope every one of us will still discussing and challenge people that will stay in our way. This is the way forward, and victory is certain if we work hard to get to the finish line.
Yeah, Zoka, your final word.
Yes, we feel the Liberian People's Party feel that the reason why we're educating the Liberians today is to inform them to make a decision based on the track records of all of the candidates that will come before you and say, vote for me. That's the message we have for the Liberian people. We want you to make the selection of the leader based on his track record, and not a political speech that will tell you, okay, we're going to buy this for you, we're going to give you this, and then after one day, probably you have gotten like $100 or so for you to sell your vote, and then you live in poverty for the next 6 years. We are telling the Liberian people, make the selection, vote your leaders come 2023 October based on the track record of that leader.
Okay, well, guys, we want to thank you so much for having for being here, to having this conversation. So we're looking forward. That would be a very great thing, and I quite agree with you. It is time to have these people what they have in black and white for which they want to. You know, like, we're going to create a job. We're going to do this. How? Where is it coming from? How will it be done? Who's going in? Who's coming out? Or are you going to increase the size of government as well? Like, what happens? So we need to have this. As soon as you guys get that, if you can share that with us, that would be okay. Feel free anytime if you think there's something new emerging from your party, your standard bearer, you want to share with the Liberian people. We are here always to have this conversation. I want to thank you so much for such a fruitful evening conversations regarding the affairs of our country. Dr. Kwan, thank you so much. Dr. Rabas, and my own mentor, Izokat, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so let's let Bamboo Diva, the caller here now, with the guys here. Okay, so I mean, okay, move. All right, so who can run? Who can run? Stay. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Let me give you the opportunity here. You know, there was little talking here to get yourself clear of here. Then we can talk other few things before we go. Did I hear you saying your argument, you try to equip your argument with that of concomitant Saye, the late concomitant Saye, with that of Gongloe? Was that your point? Was that why you were driving through? What was actually you were trying to get through here? Let's set the record straight.
Yeah, in getting the record straight, first of all, I want to tell my brother Goya that I was not creating a scenario to put the Honorable Gongloe into a deplorable basket. I said my premise was I've heard these type of utterances before. I've heard some of these same story before. So what Gongloe is saying today is not a strange episode to me.
Not a surprise.
Not at all. Therefore, I strongly believe that the executive mansion is not an experimental era where we come and experiment all the time. I think it should be a place where we are prepared to lead. But if I should go to vote for anyone right now, as I told you, managing editor, I said I'll be voting on the basis of substance, not on the basis of what a party has to offer. Because I have lived through a trend of time where what the party has to offer has never been implemented. Yes. So when I brought in Gongloe, for instance, Gongloe worked in the Helen Johnson Sirleaf government as Solicitor General and as a minister. Now, one day, I see him address the issue of corruption in the Helen Johnson government. No. Yes. Now, one day, I see him talking about nepotism in this government. No. So my question now is, if he become president, if he could not address this thing in the past, how can he address them when he gets to the executive mansion? Or he waiting to get there before he address these things? So this is where my problem comes in when people ask me about a political leader. I first of all tend to look at the past and make my analysis that will help me make a determination as to whether I can follow this political leader.
Yeah, like a black snake by you. When you see any leaf shaking, you think that it's snake. Okay.
And don't get me wrong, Councilor Gongloe is an honorable man.
Except, unfortunately, there's not a black snake.
Okay, I respect him. I honor him. He's one of our sons of Liberia. And I would like to really sit with him to have one-on-one talk. Like my brother just said, what's his name? Douala just said, Liberia is a design country. He says sometimes we have to go in by force. I agree with him. When the Progressive Alliance was formed in 1975 under the late Backup Matthew, that was the beginning for us to start taking things by force. But what happened? Backup Matthew, before they could break, he was consumed by the very system he was fighting. He became foreign minister. The Progressive Alliance went underground. You know, so when I see these things and some of my brother coming up to say, oh, this man vision. Yes, Gongloe has been doing some nice things in Liberia. Translating those things into a presidential material as an occupant of the executive mansion, it's a different ball game.
Okay, let's pivot here.
No, please let me say something because you lay a framework here that I disagree with. That when a black snake by you, Mr. Jones is trying so hard to create a black snake when there's no black snake. Absolutely no black snake. And I'm seeing his struggle to hold Tiawan accountable for the failure of the progressives. I hope he remembers that within the progressive community, you had Topan Atipote and his group. You had Amos Sawyer and his group. You have Backup Matthew and his group. People coming together as a progressive does not mean that they all absolutely believe in the exact same thing. It doesn't. Even here in America, you have the Democratic Party and you have several facets of the Democratic Party. At one point in time, you used to have the blue dog Democrats that became Republicans. Right? So let's stop trying to do this to say, oh, things 1975 or Sawyer time was not addressed by somebody who was not the president. So therefore, when the black snake by you, then that's not a black snake no more. Let's be very, very fair. When we sit on this platform to make this point, we got to be fair to the Lebron people because we're here trying to educate the Lebron people. To my brother Dwalu's point, we cannot be educating the Lebron people and trying to equate oranges to apples. They are not the same. Absolutely not the same. There has been nobody in Lebron presidential history that we have had to judge about how they will be president and say, oh, but they didn't be president, so we still judge them. No. You judge Tiawan Gongloe about the totality of what he's done. And yes, you cannot say that he was doing great as a president because he hasn't been president. Neither could you say George Weah will be great as a president, by the way you skip that, because he hasn't been president. He hadn't been president. So, but we can look at what if you go the old match we're setting on to want to plot a new match. So I think, Mr. George, you're unfair in your analysis. You're trying to compare apples to oranges, and it doesn't mix.
George Weah is not a point of conversation.
No. The point I made, therefore, you talked about the failure of Sawyer government and try to tie that to Tiawan. And then he ran to Ellen government and tried to tie that to Tiawan intersection. And then he skipped and said, now he's on the stage. As if to say there was a vacuum after Ellen, nobody president.
So, okay, we don't want to create a Pandora box here, but his view, his opinion, that's what we got. You have the right to counter argue. Let's get to the issue of today's now before we wrap up in the next 30 minutes. Amos George, good evening and welcome. So, Dwalo. Oh, is he frozen? Are you there, Dwalo?
Frozen, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Just waiting for my turn.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you so much. The ground is crowded already, crowded in terms of the sense. I think there's more openness, there's more conversation, and we hope that all other networks continues this sort of conversation. With this here, we hope to see these political parties, especially those that are seeking for the higher office of the land, regardless whether they get their VP pick or whatever it is, to begin to see like a sort of blueprint. I did hear from the LPP folks here that in the coming days, week or so, they're going to be putting something out. And that's exactly what we need to have as a working tool for us to ask then the tough questions that we need to ask. Okay, you say this is how you're going to do education here. How much do you have here that you think you're going to invest into education if we have to have a quality education? How much you think are you going to have here if we are to be a nation that can feed herself? Since Samuel Doe type Green Revolution type project, he's the only president. Nobody has gone back to visit that to see where they fell short and what can be added and see. And instead of their Fulani or whatever people were alone here, how can Liberia businesses be empowered to be able to invest into agriculture? Because any country that cannot feed itself, that's a national security issue. When do you think we're going to have these sort of conversation from these sort of blueprint from our these political parties or leaders that are contesting for the higher office?
Mr. So our political leaders do not have any respect for the people whatsoever. Okay, they're always cavalier about how they do the people's business. This is a Liberian thing. So they don't tell us when they're going to do it because they don't have to. We've not made them to. But Dr. Kwan said something before he left the show, and I want to briefly address that. Wait for a while. There is this tendency in Liberia where a lot of political people believe, or presidents, that if we keep the people uneducated, we can control them very easily. And what they don't understand is this is a contract. Look, let me tell you, there was a guy that took over out of China. They got a truly developed China. He was called Deng Xiaoping. He's about 4'1" tall. This small guy. This is what he did. He said this, and I'm paraphrasing this quote here. He said, listen, from the untrained eye, you think it's best to control a lot of illiterate people. But when you look at the totality of things, when you educate them, you distribute the responsibility of the state and you can all evolve together. It is our greatest advantage if we educate our population. But our leadership don't seem to understand this. Look, when you see the Jajais, say the Moyans, say the Sakumorians in Liberia, and controlling these young men to the detriment of the entire society when we are zogorazing the country, what they don't understand, they are burdening themselves because they are not distributing the responsibility across the spectrum. I'll go back to your question in this fashion. I'll tell you this. Only hear from these people. Not a single person up to this point has a website where they have published their vision for the country. They've not published a vision. I don't just care about agriculture. I believe the evolution of any society must be built from institutions. We refuse to build the institution that will create the production in that country. And brother Andres says something. Look, he's totally right. People that put in the position of trust must be at production levels. Let me explain. I read a whole paper. I publish these papers. The reason why I do this, I want when I'm going tomorrow, somebody say, oh, do I wrote them down? The issue here is, look, I've been working in finance for over 20 years in America. I went to high school in this country. I want to say something. When I was fresh out of graduate school, for 3 months, I made coffee at my company. I was just a coffee boy. Not because I was stupid, because the guy that was going to train me, I had to pay my dues. There was progression in that field. Gradually, I began learning. And then after a year, I got my first desk. Okay, as a fund accountant. Then over time, I got another desk. What I'm trying to say, it gradually took me to production level, to management level, to directorship level. It took a span of time. But what we've done in our country is somebody graduates from LU, a 10th rate university as it stands. LU was a glorious institution, but now it's a 10th rate university. There are kids graduating from LU can barely read. Nobody wants to talk. We're dying as a society because we take the least amongst us and we make them leaders. And we expect diligence and prudence and responsibility. It does not work out that way. Our leadership, we must require more from them. Our best and brightest must lead us. But when you talk here, oh, Opa, they're jealous. You gotta be jealous. Of course I'm jealous. I'm jealous that we're the least in everything. I'm jealous that our institutions do not work. No hospital, no road, no infrastructure society. I'm jealous that anybody with 2 brain cells wants to leave the country because he cannot eke out a living in his own society. That's what I'm jealous of. I'm jealous because the infant mortality rate in the country is ridiculous. The maternal mortality rate in the country is crazy. I'm jealous that everybody wants to leave the country. Guys can get their families in the country. They cannot experience the results of their own action and the decision they've been making in the country. Nobody allowed to talk about it. When you talk, man, you do not take the most consequential position in the country and you give it to a man that has no original idea in the person or president we are. And you give him the awesome responsibility of the presidency and you expect results. Our children will die as slaves under the arms of foreigners in our own country. I hear about to you guys.
Amos George, the man from the far right. Let me bring him into this right here. And I want to go to say, Amos, what are you laughing for?
So what?
I see you laughing. Share the fun.
Liberia is an amazing country. Are curious? Whatever.
Is there any evidence we're going to get out of this here, considering what is unfolding? How do we get out? What other language do we need to speak? How should we go down there to the ordinary? You know, there's a video. I meant to play that video, but I got caught out. In subsequent conversation, I'll play it. Look, it's serious what is happening in there. The young guy assembled a group of people. The story went like this. In his word, he visited them first and he promised that he was going to go back. So he has gone back to them now. And then the people were responding, okay, you now come. Election coming. We got to go vote. Our children are going to school. And we got to make sure our house is in order. So you say you are going to your guy, you come back now. Where you get? my people, and what we agree, whatever they bring here, when it all ready to all, then we all agree we're going to go that way. Yeah. When you have a group of people, I will have to throw that video in the group chat for you to see it for yourself. If you have a group of people having these sort of backyard conversation in 50s, in 100, Dwello, Sissy, Mally, Mr. George, imagine just only 1/4. And the guy said they're going to be going all around. And these people is like literally putting a tinted car windshield. You're not supposed to see sunlight. I don't know. I didn't conclude it to say why, but the idea that people came to a consensus. When you can't, so you not can, we want to hear from you. Can't talk something so we hear. And then when you talk here, go for you. And what we say, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
volume.
how you doing, yeah. How you doing, Saye and Molly? You see, this is not strange. This has been a trend in Liberia. We talk about two-way parties, one so say all. What is in to go and get a group of people, the chief say, carrying the men, that's it. And that's all, yeah, okay. Now, it just had taken a different form. This form now will have freedom. We still got multi-party systems. But that mentality still remains there. That they feel that's the only time they can get something from the politicians. And the politicians also use that to play on the people. Take, for example, after election, all the guys go back to they sit down. Nobody want to see those people again. If it is 9 years, 8.5 years, then they go back. They start approaching them. I come back for re-election. Because they say, hey, he will give us something. And every time you get in Liberia, that man is good. The goodness is because he can get in 5 out of 10. That's the goodness. Hey, go to Liberia. If you see someone praising a politician, if you ask them what that man has done, not for you, but for the community, that you think the children here can benefit tomorrow, they can become official leader, they will not tell you, they will say, oh, if you go that man, he said today, having my child go to school, he'll give you small, you can't pay a child school fee. That is good for one person. Those are the kind of things. So you ask, what can we do? What we doing, that's why I always say, sometimes people get frustrated, some people get frustrated, oh, this and that. And I always say, the only thing we can do is to continue to preach this message. Because the moment we become silent, then those people have won. Those people who continue to misuse the people, then of course they have won. So we have to continue to talk to our people. Why do you think these people, they cannot put in place a proper educational structure to try to educate the masses? There's a reason I always say there's a reason for this. If you go, Flomo happened to go to school, James come to town, he will be able to stand in front of James, but James, you said that we should vote for you. What have you done? You have been in the house 6 years. What bill did you proffer to benefit this district? They don't want that. That is the reason. So what they do is that they create a situation to keep those people down there. Just had the serving them, and the children are in America, Kenya, Ghana, going to school. When the children go back in, those poor children will continue to serve them the same old way. That has been the design of this
vicious cycle, right?
Vicious cycle. That has been the design of these people. It was done intentionally. It doesn't, they don't know it. They know it.
Okay, so
and that's what I can say today. We have to continue to talk to approach people. Because we keep silence is done. The corruption will continue. The inequality will continue. It will be a vicious cycle. Because who they're talking, nobody ain't raising any. It's the people, what they will do to us? Nothing. And that is the problem. Why you think Sister go say, look, you know what, the Ministry of Education, I'm going to help you people. Free. To what? To redesign a curriculum. Okay, we'll call you. The least is it. Samson told, he went, taught at a university. He asked and said, I will offer my services to you people. Free, I want no salary. On the program, we have representatives. They say, we'll get back to you. Or that you the people will need. What they did. Did they ever call him back? No. Because what? There will be an awareness. He will start creating. Then people start, don't bring him here. Our people, the mail be asking where the other money going. Who's signing the other one? Why for? So this is it.
I got a personal story too, sir, about LU.
Sure. Sherry, let's hear it.
Give me 10 seconds to share it.
Huh?
I was in Liberia for about 9 months. I was in Liberia for 9 months. I was running my small business in Liberia. I had a business in Liberia with 10 trucks, about almost 27 employees. So I was in the country. I went to LU. I said, listen, guys, I have this skill. If you want to use my skill for the next 6 months, I can teach a couple of classes. These are my credentials. I'll give it to them. The guys, they wanted me to bribe them in order to be able to volunteer.
Okay.
I should bribe before I can volunteer at the university. When you have undergraduates teaching in the university, and somebody coming with a tremendous amount of experience, that's a big because it was just me, and I presented with, but my man Dwalu, when you come here, my man, the last month you will be ordered for you people, and I refused to pay that, and I walked away. We are killing ourselves internally. I'll give it back to you.
Why you getting smoke or water, man? So you know the thing here, once you go in there, right? The first thing, come and ask you, oh my man, go you here. So the next question, you here to stay? So they are doing all their SOS security, and you say you here.
I didn't know. That's also how you know.
Oh,
I didn't know. Oh my man, you not move home. You not move back home. I said no. I'm here till. So you going back soon? I said
welcome you, everything and everything. The only thing. You're here to stay or you're just visiting. They try to secure their area, their position. So when you say you're here to stay, the first thing to better go face, then forget it. You're no more friend. But before you come in, Mali, look, Sister, with this said, it's not just on Monrovia, it's just minute. Well, it's rich in terms of vote. But there are people outside of Monrovia, the Banga, the Grand Bassa, the Lofa, the Nima, those villages and towns. People got to get there with an aggressive awareness of their decisions and the potential consequences of these decisions they're going to be making. If the opposition sit here and say, okay, the people suffering, who tell you that the people not? Are you sure they are not? Are they unaware of what is happening?
You get only free slave when they say it's very free.
Created the corridor, the lack of flow of information, and some of these decisions being made unknowingly to themselves because they just don't want to process it or they just do not want to validate it or whatever. What can be done to create this sort of aggressive awareness? Well, should we wait for election commission? Should the opposition wait for everything to be 100% perfect? The electoral gala, the voter education, not do this, they not do this. How can we cut through that gap?
So, Mr. So, there's a lot you just pack in there, but as usual on this show, I like to push you back on when you put the opposition in one basket. If there were one basket, you won't have so many political parties. You would just have one political party. So to group all opposition and say the opposition ain't doing this.
Since you don't worry about Mr. Soda, all he does.
But I get it. You will always say it, and I always.
They won the job, so I need them to do the much greater portion. Not just.
But to say the opposition is a collectivist guilt system you're trying to create, right? We're not responsible for the ANC. ANC not responsible for us. We're not responsible for the UP. UP is not responsible. We're not responsible for. Is that vote? VOLT, right? The guy that was on the last time, I didn't even know that. The armed forces of the abroad already has an agricultural battalion, so we create one. But you know, and we're not responsible for the Ministry of Labor either. So so everybody have their own place to be. Having said that, though, look, we understand, and to Dwalu's point, you know, I love you, Dwalu. I just seen you today, but I'm liking you. I think we're going to partner on so many things. When you don't educate people, you create burden for administration.
Yeah.
But let me give you a segue, Dwalu. People know that when they keep the masses uneducated, then there is not much blowback. Then you become the new NGO in town. Then people come to you to beg you for the daily sustenance. Then you build this God-like complex that if you don't open your gate, some people will die. You're sending people to hospital. I was listening earlier when Mr. Soul talked about people coming to the United States and collecting bed bug mattresses, taking them back home, instead of appropriating those things in national budget. Sir Joseph should not come here and get in ratting old school buses and get them back. And my own uncle, but now we're talking away today. You should not come and get ratting buses and go park there and create muscle rider transport. You should appropriate them in budget. Sir Joseph building a private university should create a problem. When you are a lawmaker, you are sitting, and there are committees on education, on higher ed, and you are running a higher ed institution. That should be a problem. But Dwalu, you know, you look at that from an egalitarian point of view, where people think that, you know, we should go for the greater good. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't go for the greater good. They want that God-like complex where my windshields are dark, and everybody see me and say, "How you doing, Chief? Today, my children ain't you, Papa. Yesterday, my children ain't you." And you take 10 hours, you get there, and they praising you. That God-like complex. But that God-like complex only comes from a place of deficiency, of deficit. Because you and I know, and we've said this before, and I said this too, and I'll call his name again, Honorable Akaras Gray, at one point in time, said he would challenge me on math when I got to Monrovia. I called him, he didn't come. And I told him, I said, the reason people that you think you're a big fish because you created a swamp in Monrovia. You are in Fiamma, in Weze, Buka, the predator, Tilapia, the predator. If you allow the Atlantic Ocean to flow into Fiamma, Buka become prey. So they are intellectually holding our people hostage so that they continue for Buka to continue to be predator. Because you can, if they educate our people, they know they're not competent for putting vote them in. And so I go back to Article 18. Article 18 of our Constitution talks about work and the right to work regardless of political affiliation. When people are saying, if you don't belong to the CDC, we'll fire you, you know, and so people now feel that, well, I have to belong to this in order to get my daily sustenance. That is the problem they're creating. And so to your point, Mr. So, and that is why I am always unapologetically fired up for Tiawan Gongloe, because what we have been doing is to make sure Tiawan go to these places where presidential candidates have not been before. We are tired of people sitting in Monrovia and making decisions for the entire country. There are a lot of people who vote without knowing why they're voting and who they're voting for. And we are telling people this time that your vote is you giving power of attorney to somebody over your life for the next 6 years or 9 years, depending on who you're voting for. And so you need to make sure that you listen, you get these people, you talk to them, they understand. Like George Bush used to say, I look into the man's eye, I saw his soul. You have to see their soul before you vote for them. So to your point, though, Mr. So, I think if political parties sit and say they're waiting for a government-funded program that will go and do education or civil education, I think we'll be lying to the Liberian people. We'll be doing a disservice to the Liberian people. They will elect a group of buffoons, regardless of where they come from, that they don't know their pedigree. So every political party that is serious needs to be out there in the Zenzu, in the Bokonema, in the Zlowo, in these places, and talking to the people about what it means to have a right to vote. Because quite too often our people take that right to vote very minimally, not realizing that that is their trump card.
Marla Jones.
Yes, sir.
How can we cut through this gap? What should we be doing by this time?
Well, I would like to take you guys back down memory lanes again. See, the issue of illiteracy in Liberia is not an event. It's a process. And the process began since 1847. It did not just happen under the Weah government, neither the Helen Johnson Sirleaf government. But the politicians and their political parties take advantage of the illiterate population to get to power. That is the trend in Liberia. This is the population that is more concerned about their well-being than being concerned about platform. This is a population where they believe in more lies than truth. So at the end of the day, when a good politician is rising up, people start to doubt this good politician. Because why? I noticed that in Liberia, the people's power, like what Mr. Dwalo said, is there. It can work, but it cannot work when the mind is still not critical enough to analyze issue. People cannot make informed judgment or informed decision. The followers just follow the leaders because the politicians are just like that. So most of the politicians since 1847 are happy for the system to remain locked like this until eternity. But what I wanted to bring here now, I think we are about talking about solution right now. Our want for each of the political parties in Liberia, in the absence of election, come up with a long-term plan where they send about 200, 300 people abroad to study in critical areas. So when they go back home, they take some of the jobs from the foreigners. I will want for the political parties to start moving into that direction, because that one way I think we can start fighting this illiteracy, because political parties are shadow government. They're sitting there. If they are lucky, they get there. If not, they wait for their turn. You see? So that one suggestion, we can move in. And another suggestion here is that my brother just said when he went to the University of Liberia, just to share something with people for them to buy it. I know Mr. Dwalo was frustrated. But Mr. Dwalo, if I were you, I would not be frustrated, because the issue now is not an event, it's a process. It's chronic. So the second recommendation I would make is that the entire university curriculum and the entire university leadership has to go for training. Yes, it's that we need a new mindset in Liberia. But if the mindset don't start with the bulk of the people, the politician will continue to have feast days in Liberia. And it's coming again, and it's going to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Soul, let me come in. Look, you said there's so many things here. First of all, I disagree heavily sending anybody abroad. I will tell you the reason why. And my brother here, Goya, is absolutely right. The very people that knees on our necks, we have deified them. And we think they're gods because we deified them. But Mr. Soul, everything I do now going forward is to find solutions to our problems. That's what I read about. That's what I care about, because the solutions are there. And there's a reason why I don't send people abroad. I know this topic so intently because my master's thesis was written on this. After World War II, Japan had a similar problem that we are facing today. Okay? What they did was, they sent a batch of students to America to go to school. The Japanese realized this was extremely expensive. We've done this on the Tubman administration on October. We sent a lot of people abroad, which is crazy. If I'm living in Grand Bassa County, you send me to Johns Hopkins University to become a medical doctor, the probability that I will go back to Liberia is zero. Absolutely zero. I am not coming back to Liberia. What the Japanese did was, they came to America. They said, you know what? We sent a few people here to America. We sent the first 200 people. This is too expensive, and most of the people are not coming back. America has a tendency where they capture the brightest minds and make them stay, not because they want to, but they see the value in it after they've developed them. The Japanese came to America. They went to the Ivy Leagues. They went to the University of Chicago, these top-level universities. They said, oh, Mr. Johnson, how much do you make? He said, I make $200,000. They said, we'll give you $1 million. We'll take you to Japan. You're a cardiologist. You're a pediatrician. You go to a Japanese university, and instead of you training one Japanese, now you're training 200 Japanese in Japan. The first batch of students that were trained with masters and PhD, they became the new professors in the university. You have to indigenize your strategy. You have to indigenize your strategy. If you have time, so I want you to Google Common Sense Economics for Liberia. Let me tell you something. I wrote a paper called Liberia $1 billion Challenge. This is my intent right now. One thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for $1 million, and I've been pushing, and I will get to that money. If I get to that $1 million, I'm quitting my job. I will dedicate the rest of my life to the evolution of this country by fire, by force. I'm sick of it. We're dying as a society. Let me tell you what I intend to do with this solution. We in the diaspora, there's something going on with us. We hold the greatest opportunity to transform that location, but we are not taking our proper place. This is my suggestion. We have about 1.2 million Liberians scattered all over the diaspora, America, Australia, you name it. Here in America, I'm being very conservative. These are my calculations. The average Liberian minimally makes $40,000 a year. Minimally makes $40,000. I don't know anybody who makes $40,000. Everybody makes way more, but I'm being very conservative here. If you take half of those people, it's approximately 600,000 of those people. Let's assume the rest of them are children, they're not working. That means we have a capitalization of $24 billion a year. That means we're only making $40,000 a year. We make about $24 billion a year. The entire Liberia, our entire GDP is approximately $3.9 billion. That means we have 12 times what the average entire country makes. If each of us, if I came to Mr. Soul, I need $1,000 from you. This is not free money. This is not investment. We create a Liberian Diaspora Corporation. My intent is to go and create businesses. The hydro, we can capitalize on the hydro and privatize it, build a new airport. And now we can influence our people how to think. In order to treat them, you have to feed them, provide jobs for them. Think to how you can, when it's wild muscle, you know what wrong? You can't vote this way because you work on the rubber plantation up in Bapulu County where we have rubber factories here. We can begin to retrain the minds of our country. We are not going to do this from afar. We have to put our money where our mouths are. I've been writing to people. I need $1 million. I will quit my job and I will go to every Liberian community in the diaspora. I said, listen, I need $1,000 from you. I will issue you a bond. That bond will be here. FDIC insured in these United States. This is an American corporation, but our intent is to invest in Liberia. We can expand the rest production. We can begin building our own factory. We can compete with the foreigners and say, listen, this is our heritage. We have to overtake it aggressively, but economically aggressive. These talking points are not going to work. We have to put boot on the ground. I'll take it from a Marine deal. Look, I used to be a non-commissioned officer in the United States Marine Corps. And one thing I learned in leadership training is this. The mind must be federalized with the intent to change it into the direction that the leadership requires. So you have to create a federalization of that mind. How do we create a federalization? To do job creation, to do building our own schools and our own research universities in the country. And we can come see, you know what wrong? To say, you've been teaching here. We need some professors. We target diaspora Liberians. They can be a locational business. They come, we build facilities in the country. You spend 6 months, 1 year, you teach our local people. We begin to build that human capital in the country. This is the only way. It cannot be done through politicization. It's not going to work. It's never worked anywhere. Look, this guy, Lee Kuan Yew, you have to read his book, From Third World to First World, the Singapore story. You have to read some massive 600 pages. You have to read this book. Beautiful. Look, there is a progression. They say, oh, Singapore. He was brutal. And I will give it to you guys with this one quote. He said, listen, if it costs me to kill 100,000 Chinese, he was a Chinese himself, people that are keeping this country down, in order for Singapore to now experience another 200 years of total backwardness, so be it. The same applies to Liberia. Some have to go for us to evolve. I'll give it to you guys.
So, and I think this is what we've been saying here. What I see where Dualo is going. When we sit here and tell people, don't vote for this person, don't vote for this person, but the person in the village there, they're still going down to the creek. They don't have a, how do you call it, say, they don't have a pump water. But then you're telling them not to vote. They're not going to listen to you. So in other words, what he's saying, we have to invest into them, into their lives, into their story changing. The liberal progressive is on this line. Where is he calling from? Are you calling from Amsterdam? The liberal. Oh, the liberal.
No, it data finish. By the time he press the number, the data finish. The Amsterdam is too expensive.
Okay. No, you call back here. Yeah, so I think that's what, in a nutshell, I think that's what he's saying. And it's a kind of workable strategy to invest into the people. You will get hold of them, you empower them, they will listen to you. But if not, they will.
I'm stealing the terminology from you tonight, indigenize.
Yes.
Look, and this is what I think my brother, you should open a church. In rivalry to Reverend Senator Prince Johnson and Reverend President George. We have Reverend Dwalu. So our Sunday will be complete. But but look,
okay, let's see.
Indigenizing stuff in Liberia.
Yeah, Deliver, are you there?
I am, Mr. Soul.
Let's hear from you. Where are you?
Well, I've been listening. I think the fire that Dwalu, Honorable Dwalu, is laying on each of these young Liberians is a good one. It's a good one because for me, I've always stated it, Mr. Soul, that our people said the dumber will beat in here, they sue in Liberia. Serious note. The young people here, I mean, you could tell from this guy's voice tonight, he's hurting because he knows he has the ability. He knows he can move things in Liberia. But the folks that are on ground, they have no interest. They have no interest. For some reason, they believe that people like the like of Dwalos will come in, the like of Saye will come in, and perhaps try to take their position or whatever. Forgetting to know that we're all Liberian, even if these people are qualified and you're not qualified, let them have it. But that's not the reason that I'm calling. I'm calling in. I've been noticing something. You know me, Mr. Soul. I'm very much involved in a lot of things. And quite lately, Ambassador Bakar is here. But I don't see Lobo. I don't see Lobo around Ambassador Bakar. What's going on with that?
I knew they were coming with fire.
Why you didn't go there?
That's very interesting. Why is Lobo is not around? Where is Lobo? That's very interesting. Is Lobo been kicked out by Costa? I mean, or maybe I'm just looking at wrong pictures here. But I have not seen ever since I've been seeing a lot of pictures Costa posting. Perhaps he's been posting those that he has with no Lobo. But I mean, just a fundraiser. I'm still going to.
So ask the man, I have two children there, Lobo and Costa, and I have two children.
He said he know them.
I don't know those
but
people.
He talks about them every day. Dwalo, can you imagine? He doesn't know them, but he talks about them.
Right now, the president is doing good. And President George is doing good. Nigeria is sweet. And we all
wait till Liberia, so you gotta see this.
Samson is a mess. Unbelievable.
We're going to Liberia. Dr. Weah, Ambassador Weah, Dr. Weah is doing excellent.
You ain't wait till Liberia.
This guy, Libra is a complete mess.
Oh God! So I just called to let you guys know we'll be keeping in touch. We're on our way to Liberia, and we pray that everything will be fine and everything in Liberia seems to be okay.
So nobody putting their phone in there more, eh?
No.
But the Labour need to join the show from Liberia. Remember how in Liberia I had to join the show? The man got to join the show.
The man going total, the man going in the village. No, the man guy.
I grant you that robe will be hard on his body.
He carrying his satellite with him, so hopefully.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll try to join you guys when I get back from Tool Town. Okay. I was just basically all of the. We're going to showcase all of the good things that is happening in Liberia. No, but on a very serious note, I mean, and I keep saying this, Mr. So, the young people that are here in Liberia, I mean, here in the diaspora, these people and have the ability to move things. They're suffering. They're making good money. I'm not talking about their health or any, monetary. They're doing good, but the fact that their love for that country, it's burning them, and they know things. They see X, Y, and Z going the wrong way, but they have no control. They have none.
Okay.
So we're going there again. we will be showcasing the Pimpin' Boys and all of that. But other than that, I want to say thank you guys, and we're leaving very early, and we'll say thank you. We'll be right back, and we'll join you in.
I hope you bought some CCTV from Amazon and you carrying with you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Deliberate. All right. I'm getting a message here. Let's see. Hopefully, this is quite interesting. Are you there? Yeah, are you there? Okay, let me just put you through here. Okay. Say wake up the lion from early morning sleep.
Who are that cause trouble way again?
Your uncle here, you say you calling the Honorable Senator Sir Joseph. Honorable Senator, are you there?
Yeah, Mr. So,
Uncle and nephew can be plow, so my uncle I gotta be quiet.
Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to all from Liberia. First of all, thanks for the show. I've been monitoring the show for a very long time, and yeah, and I just decided to make a little bit of contribution and clarity. To my nephew, the thing is that the old buses, he talked about the old buses from the US. I agree. The 2015 buses are old. 2015, you said they are old, but the 2015 buses are driving passengers from Nimba County, where your Kennedy is from, to Monrovia with the normal charges. Is other buses are charging $800 Liberian dollars, and the Maserati Transport Service buses that are turned over to the superintendent of Maserati County to raise income and help community initiatives, they are charging $400 Liberian dollars. In Central Monrovia, the same old buses, May 2015, they are also charging $50 Liberian dollars. In the previous price was $100 Liberian dollars, but everybody have gone down to $50. Proceeds raised from those buses go directly to the superintendent of the county, and those monies are used for community initiative, microfinance activities to help some of our communities. But I think it's politics. Everybody have the right to sell the candidate. So, but I believe that if you can help me get some more of the old buses here, we can make a lot of effort.
So Uncle
you're doing the loafer will be.
Let me make clarification to my uncle that asked a question, because I can't argue my uncle. This is not loafer like. Senator.
I help in the University of Liberia. 5 of these buses.
Let you finish your talk, Sissy.
Oh, okay. I thought he was done. That's why I didn't hear him.
To transport the students. So I consider this a successful project. I was given money to purchase a vehicle as a senator, and used those money, and I brought in those buses to Liberia. I bought them, and I brought them to help our citizens. NTA that you raised issue for, the government of India donated buses to India, to Liberia, almost 100 plus buses. Laws are in place. Proceeds from those buses, they should have been able to service them, buy parts, and they're not raising the money. They're not doing anything. I have gone visited the Liberia Transport Authority and found out what's going on there. At one point in time, documents burned and what have you. Even the previous administration, these are the same old story. Also, let me speak a little bit on the schools. I have presently 4 schools, 4 grade schools. Those schools have been in existence before even I became a representative and now a senator. I worked for Jefferson Baptist Mission in Oregon as director of missions. I built 30 schools in Sierra Leone before coming back to Liberia and established those schools. The first thing was when those schools were established, the church sponsored those schools, and the church asked that we should turn the school over to the government of Liberia. We wrote them officially. The government of Liberia said they are not in the position to run those schools. As we speak, those schools are still running free of charge. And I thought it was that there is a need to come up with a technical institution as senator of the county. And it's been successful. There was a test case where I trained more than 2,000 students who are today in the market in Liberia. They are doing very well. And I still feel that there's a need to have a technical institution. So the church in the United States contributed almost to half of the amount to build that institution. So I don't see anything in it. If the government of Liberia is willing to run that institution, the building will be turned over to them. Even the schools now, even today, we are ready to turn them over to the government of Liberia if they can pay the teachers.
This is still wrong, Honorable Joseph. This is still
Can
wrong.
I ask a question to my uncle before?
Yeah, ask your question.
Uncle, for like hearing me. So the first thing, let me make a clarification. When I talk about the buses, it was in a greater context of that should not be the responsibility of a senator. It should be in legislation that those buses be in national budgeting, like you talk about the LTA and the issues with the LTA. So that was the reason that got brought out. It was not to take a dig at you. It was to say we should not be having senators coming here, whatever old new rotten buses are to go to Liberia. Transportation, national transportation should be in the national budget. That's the point I was making. Now, having said that, though, do you think though, as a senator, and I know you will come by one of these days for us to talk when your official campaign kicks up, but as a senator of the most populous county, do you think that running your own schools and the government not taking over, and I'm thinking it's because of lack of money from the government, you said if they can pay the teachers, do you see a breakdown of governance in there where you have a school that was built by philanthropists and you're willing to turn them over to the government, but the government is not taking it, and you're running a transport system where the money is going to the county simply because the LTA or the Liberia Transport Authority situation is not sustainable budgetary wise or everything else. What are you doing as a senator to ensure that the LTA and the Transport Authority becomes more viable so that you don't have to have buses that will be running and giving money to the county?
First of all, I will, as senator of the county, I will come up with an initiative that will help my citizens. It is impossible for the government of Liberia to take care of everybody. There are times people are sick they cannot afford. There are market women who sells in the market that don't have anything at all. As senator of this county, which type of initiative do you think I can come up with to trickle down, for the trickle down effect to be felt in towns and villages within Montserrat County?
Let me answer that question, Mr. So. And Mr. Sargis, if you're listening to me, sir. Look, Mr. Joseph, basically, your actions by going to the private sector to create businesses is actually robbing Liberia directly. Your responsibility is to create an enabling environment. You just have no time whatsoever to run any business of any kind. The mere fact that you build a school, you're weakening the state. Let me finish, sir. You're weakening the society by you building the school. No one person can build. Let me finish my point. No one person can build a school. But it seems everybody in the country is building a school because they're this quasi location. They're not even qualified to become schools. They cannot be run properly. The state must organize this. The reason why the state has the bulk of the resources, but when you guys are fragmenting the state in this faction, you're weakening the entire society. Spend your time with legislation and expanding the economy so this can trickle down. Not you individually. It should be trickled down by the society. I'll give it back to you.
All right. Okay. Let us
Mr. Saye.
Hold on 1 second, Mali.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all leave my uncle. Let my uncle sleep tonight. Begging you.
So it's good to have this conversation. When one is sitting down somewhere, you think you sat down and then you say, okay, what can I do to help? And then you come up with a program and help and create it. It's successful and turn it over to the county. Is it wrong? It's not
wrong. It's wrong.
That's your view. Give me a chance.
Let him make his point. And
as you are speaking, I gave you a chance. Give me a chance. It's not wrong for me to help to reduce transportation in the country. It's not wrong for me to come up with an initiative that the county will have resources to help its citizens. That's why you think it's wrong. If it is wrong, come in Liberia, ask the question in the community. What make it wrong? I don't see it wrong. Which type of legislation that is not on the book? Bring the legislation that you think that needed to be passed, that is not on the book. We have all of the legislations. Liberia don't just need legislation. Liberia need an activity that will move this country forward. They need fasting, because you were just talking about initiative. You know how much initiative I have been in before I was asked to get involved to help. I see my involvement getting into politics as just an opportunity to help the citizens. Do you know the job I was doing before getting involved? I just told you about 30 schools that are built in Sierra Leone. Have you seen any of my schools? Try to check on me. Go and ask the Jefferson Baptist Mission in Oregon. Go see how much money they sent over and what we did with those money to build schools where refugees were living. So we have come up with a successful program, and as senator, I must be able to think and come up with initiatives that will help the citizens. Laws are on the book. Which type of laws are not on the book? We even have laws on the book to clean, that the city must be clean. Is the city clean? The city is not clean. The citizens, everybody eat on the street, they just drop it on the road. When you try to enforce those laws, you know what happens? These are the issues. So I'm coming up with...
Joseph, I presented a proposal to the city to clean the city and create jobs in the country. It sits on your desk. Even the president himself got hold of that proposal. You're very hierarchical structure in the society. Look, you guys don't want solution. You're trying to individualize solution and you're killing our people.
You don't need to submit a proposal to the government. What you need to do is to come up with a program where how do you yourself do it, run it. That's what a successful program. That's what you do.
I have done it, sir, Joseph.
Okay. Well, so
I got a question. I don't know.
I would like to come in.
Okay. 1 second. I don't know what Senator, do you still have the time?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Where are you coming from tonight? Hold on, Senator. We getting a result for the 70K?
I'm a former legislative research analyst, so I just want to ask.
You one of these guys clean, making yourself bald hair. We're not.
No, I got money to be paying the barber there. Every time I pay, I get team of Labrador.
How much the man saving the money to get his own day back? So he's saving all
right, I know it's kind of late. Go ahead quickly, so that.
Honorable Sir Joseph,
senator chair on executive, the individual who is responsible for the Liberia Senate to take legislative instrument to the president. Good evening. My question is basically three things, but I'll just put it quick. I want to know this controversy that have existed about the CDC government meeting book economy top for top between President Weah and Madam Salif over a period of time. When will you guys as legislators build up the courage to expose to the Liberian people or inform the Liberian people about a 10-over note, whether the country was realistically broke or it is a propaganda spin? That's one. The designated sanction officials, what are you doing as a legislator and as a senator who have a responsibility on instrument? What is the advice, whether be it from the CDC, legislative camp, what have been the piece of advice since the president promised us that there will be investigation, there will be committees set up? And the last one here is the RIA road that connect Margibi and Mesorado County, that the public works minister has confessed publicly that she has, I mean, the East International does not have what it takes to execute the function of the road. And that is the only biggest international airport that have turned to be a death trap for people who will be coming overnight. What has been done in regard from the legislative arm, or what information that you have that you can help the audience with today?
My uncle only came here to talk about the buses, but you brought a whole dossier today.
It's an opportunity. We can have it all the time.
He even get the money. We asking him, he say the man in jail. We man in jail.
Okay. Okay.
Let us we will try to arrange a proper time to have this.
The East Road, the RIA road, as stated, even from Margibi to Mesorado County. The minister raised issues, and we did our investigation. The chairman on Popular Work was able to send members of the committee that was mandated and asked chair on an executive, also made a follow-up. It was good that the Minister of Popular Work raised on the issues at the road construction, how it was very slow and what have you. I think since that around, East was able to also some of the responsibility to another company as well. And that company is doing extremely well. You can ask individuals who you know that you can send there. There are a lot of efforts that have been made concerning the roads. The road, you have one block coming from RIA to Morovia, and then the one from EAW Junction going towards Margibi. I think with the also done made by the East to another company, I think I want to commend the Minister of Public Works for raising the alarm on critical issues relating to East. And a lot of efforts have been made, and they are doing extremely well. So for now, on the road issue, I think there have been a lot of efforts, and I can safely say for me, the company that took over that portion is doing extremely well. And
Senator,
the Ministry of Public Works
is that a new company? Is it a new company?
No, there's a company that they also some of the work to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are doing extremely well, and we have also mandated that the Ministry of Public Works, instead of just 2 engineers, they have personally 5 engineers that monitor all of the activities of the construction process. So they are doing it well. You
hopefully we will find time, make time, special time, so that we can have this maybe extensive conversation to your campaign. We run no time, man. You left from here almost 3 weeks. You just see you here. You even come and report. You want
Senator want to talk something.
Where's that?
Yeah, you talk about the issue of the sanctions individuals. That's why you're talking about.
Yeah, the designated individuals.
Yeah. First of all, what does our law says concerning those individuals who have been sanctioned? So what I did personally as chair of the executive, in order to have a complete oversight on this issue, was to write the U.S. embassy for me to have audience with them. I met them and asked questions. What's the meaning of the statement made, and how does that trickle down to the Liberian Senate? They made clarity that it is the right. There's no law on the book that stopped them, those unsanctioned, for getting involved into elections at all. So we're looking at the National Election Commissions. Look, what does the election law says, and then or towards that. In terms of investigation, the president have said they want to do the investigation. We're waiting for that report of that investigation. No member of the Senate have raised issues relating to that matter. So we're waiting to get results that come out from the president.
Honorable Senator, has the investigation started?
Well, I don't know whether the investigation has started, but the office of the president said that they set up a committee to do the investigation.
With a chair.
So we're waiting for the outcome of that investigation. Don't forget, the individual that asked the question know the meaning of serving as chairman and executive. So we're waiting for the outcome of that result of that investigation, and then we can act on that.
All right. Well, Senator, I want to thank you. And nearly every night
I think Mr. Jones had a question though.
Who? Or Mr. Jones? Okay, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir.
Leave for the senator.
Well, I just wanted to make 2 points clear. I differ with Mr. Dwala on 3 fronts here. First, when he said the senator were in error of initiating school, initiating this boss thing. You see, we have to understand the type of structure.
Personal
yeah.
schools.
Yes. Even if I think we are talking about private sector initiative. Because if you disagree with the senator, then I think you could be one of those trying to kill the spirit of private sector initiative. So I would support the senator on that, and even support so many government officials that will come up with so many other things that will help our people. That one. 2, it's true that he's senator and he's running a school. I think for me, I will be concerned about the quality of school, about the quality of that institution, and how government can come in to help with the capacity of that school. I think that's where I will be coming from. Rather than saying I disagree. Yes.
But the senator already said the school not even his school. So why are you defending here?
I'll have to speak to that.
Mr. Dollar said the school should be turned over to the government.
All right.
It should not have even been done by him.
No.
Okay. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Let's have other. Senator Joseph?
Yeah.
Do you have any other thing to say before we'll let you go?
Okay, yeah. Let me say, I can say something and go. Since you want me to go, Mr. So.
Oh no, I try. Yeah.
And I call my uncle not kind here. You didn't know how we can do the thing in Lova country. Then you want to send a man battle bit. You see the people there. Uncle Sally, man.
Let
me come in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Honorable Senator.
The schools are not my private property. Yeah. Those initiatives are initiatives that were put together. Let's look at this. During the Ebola crisis, I went to the U.S. in California, Chico. Brother Samson, I think, went for me there. He drove me there. And then I got 12 ambulances and I brought them to Liberia. and I brought first responder and trained our Liberian brothers and sisters. Within 3 weeks, Ebola hit Liberia. Was it wrong bringing ambulances to Liberia where thousands of persons was dying?
No.
Where the government of Liberia had only 2 ambulances, I brought in 12 ambulances. Is it wrong for me to bring it?
No.
We found first responder. First responder was put together and given to an organization to run. Today, first responder is a recognized organization. I'm proud of myself coming up with initiatives that help citizens. I will appreciate that other politicians who want to be, in fact, president or senators should come up with initiatives that will help our citizens.
Correct.
So those schools,
Let me respond, Mr. So.
the good thing is that those schools are well supported. The teachers are paid from the church in the United States. These schools have directors. There's no money come to me. Those people are indirectly, they are in connection directly to those individuals. But these are an initiative that I started when I was before becoming a representative. I was a refugee when I started those initiatives. The only thing that they continue today is because I have been faithful with the little things that they gave me. And that's why today, since I'm a senator, they still support me. Is it wrong for me to bring a lot of medical supplies and equipment in the country? It's not wrong. It's right for me to bring them, take them to private hospitals, so give it to them free, take them to a government hospital and help them. I think we should be able to encourage such a thing. So these are initiatives I will always think about, initiatives that will help our citizens when there are laws on the book. I'm chair on executive. All of the laws that come through me, debated when passed, I push them, pass them into law, and then make sure those bills are sponsored when they are passed into law and send it when they are accepted and send them to the executive for signing. So all laws are on the book, but there are also needs to come up with initiatives to help our citizens, not something that I benefit from directly. Nothing is in my name. I can show you the D copy. I can show you those construction work and everything. In fact, those people doing the construction of the college, they are students that are sent to technical school, NVTC. They went to school. They went to school there to learn. So I think let's encourage everyone to get involved, most especially those that want to be president or those that want to be vice president or senator or representative. The question we should be asking them, what have you done for our people? What can you do? What have you done will determine what can you do. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Is it so? I have to respond to that, please. I need the 30 seconds. Let me tell you something the senator does not fully understand. And my brother Molly, I think it's Molly, is your name, that you don't understand. Whenever government officials usurp their function and they start doing what institutions should be doing, they are weakening the state. When Ansel Sonny, the current education minister, when he opens a school, it weakens the public schools in the country. Look, Saye, just to tell you, I'm not benefiting from that personally. That is not true. Benefit can be qualitative and quantitative. It doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. When they say Ebola hero, it got him elected as a senator. So there is a direct benefit. You see, in this country, I can go to my clients and they're taking me out, they're giving me hotel bed. They say, oh, I'm benefiting. Honorable Judge, I can bring ambulances.
No
There's
free
nothing
lunch.
wrong with that. But you have to submit the entire ambulance to the health ministry, not on the side Joseph's arm. Any representative can go out and lobby, but once they come, he has to go to the government institution. This is how we govern, through institutions. When George Weah claims everything in the country is a Weah project, it weakens the government. Our entire society weakens, and we deify individuals who are getting undue credit. This is a problem with it. We have to build institutions, government institutions, not individuals. That's the distinction, sir. I'll give it back to you guys.
Okay. Well, we are gone over our time. We are just going to give 30 seconds. We got to go now. It's, I imagine I came on like 7 o'clock. It's 10:30. Go ahead, Sissy.
Yeah. So I don't know if I should call him Senator or Uncle Sa, but I think the point that Dualu is trying to raise here and the point that the senator is trying to make is that, look, the senator sees a need. Look, let me put out here, I have to be grateful. When Ebola broke out, I was in Monrovia. I had gone back for vacation. My wife was staying in Liberia. I was working on her paperwork to come back. And it was hard. My sister next to me died from Ebola. She does not have a burial site. She's the reason I got a tattoo on my body in memory of her, because she doesn't have a burial site. And everything we could hear everywhere was the only ambulance available was Saye Joseph ambulance. And so I want to say, I see that there was a need, and the senator filled that need. But to Dwalu's point, and the point I was raising, I brought my uncle on, was that these things should be through legislation, should be through the system, the governance structure. I'm not saying that, Saye Joseph, Honorable Senator, you're wrong for providing scholarship for students to go to school. I am not saying, I don't think Dwalu is saying that you're wrong for bringing an ambulance to help our people during Ebola, because I know my sister who died was driven by one of your ambulances. The point we're making is, how do we institutionalize, though? How do we make sure that those things go through governance structure? And to my brother, Mr. Jones, there is a reason in this country politicians put their thing in blind trust, so you avoid conflict of interest. You cannot say that if I sit on a committee of education, I should have an education entity running, and you're thinking that I will not block up the competition. That doesn't make any sense in a vibrant society. But I think the senator is saying that there is a need, and the need has not been met, and he doesn't want his people to die from Ebola. He doesn't want his people to be stranded from transportation. So he's bringing these buses, and he brought the ambulances. And Dwalu's point is that, how do we make sure that these things are legislated for, so that a senator is not doing that, or if the senator does that, it comes through a system. But I think we should frown on this thing where we come here and say, well, everybody should build a school, everybody should invest. That is not a work of lawmakers who are manning the laws that get made. You don't get to pick losers and choosers. If I am invested in agriculture and I sit on the committee on agriculture, definitely I will try to make sure that I block my competitors. That does not help. You have to be very careful.
All right. What? Now, Senator Joseph, we all were into refugee camp for years before even coming here. And there are some, I'm surprised that he got into, politics. I don't know why led that decision. But we're all there. And in fact, his connections, I remember vividly what Lone Star were playing in Sierra Leone. Lone Star ball broke down. He likes football. And then because the church he was working in, the charter boss went for those guys to come to Freetown before George Weah could make arrangement to go get those players. Out of a surprise, those guys were in town already. He didn't know how they got there, who brought them. I can tell you 100% because we were there, we follow all of those things. That's where his whole connection, I don't know whether that was his first time or second time, but I think that way he encountered George. All of us, some of us, people who knew, we all were like friends on that Bangafa, Camp Waterloo, doing stuff, with all this church support. Why would this guy want to go into sort of toxic environment? But Liberia is such a country, but it is why it is. There's a trim, fair to measure. I'm not a guy who always like to something, but he started being like that for quite a very long time. He's not one of those that came. And in fact, Billy knows why we were saying, why you can't carry this here. But people that provide the funding here, before we can trust you, you need to produce. By that time, Liberia was in crisis anyway. So you need to produce right before our very eyes before we can even trust you. And I think he did it well. That also make us Liberians to be proud because, most of our people, you can't even trust them to do a piece of thing. You give them a little 1 or 2 cents, they run away. Or they do other crazy thing that just you can't even comprehend. So that's kind of like also our good credentials to Liberian, especially a refugee, to trust you, to say, do this. And that was done. He played a part. But I hope the system in the country too will be changed. And I see where Dwalo are coming from. But I think that sort of humanitarian way of doing things, getting into government, makes it kind of very difficult that you can't see things going. But I hope the system kind of be fixed so that people can there can be no compromise of interest. So even when you do it good, try to do it good because of politics, it would be
misinterpreted, and it's going to take a long time for people to understand what you're doing. It's not like how the country is so vibrant. There's a division. You will not see a city mayor. You will not see a governor here doing certain things. But in Liberia,
it's a heavy job, Mr. So the job is so heavy. The senators shouldn't have a time to run trucking companies, schools. This is a heavy job. It requires so much reading. Where these guys find the time from? I'm nowhere. They're not working.
But yeah,
it's a great guys.
That's a challenge we have our society.
I mean, let's just be frank with this whole discussion. I want you to understand that Liberia is not a normal society where some of these things should really take hold. It's not happening. Even
trying to bring it to normality.
There's the whole issue of conflict of interest all over the place. Even yeah, I come in now. Even the Minister of Health have got her own clinic running in this place there. Look, these are structures that continue to be run from time to time. You see, so what Mr. Dwalu are alluding to, those things work somewhere else, like in the Western world. In Africa, I don't know which of the political party is even prepared to address that particular issue, the issue of conflict of interest.
It's not our books.
No. And we also have the argument that team will improve. That is the structure. That is the design.
The God that people pray to, they are not greater than our own God. It is because of system. Simple.
But we don't have system.
We do have
okay, if we have a system, why these things are happening?
Let me just
your politician.
You say everybody will open school, everybody will open thing, and then you creating a problem.
No. I said initiative. You can take private sector initiative and turn it over to government. No. Don't misquote me. I said you can take. No, wait a minute. Yes, I agree with him 100%.
Yeah, and you say
initiative. You can take initiative, build a school as a senator, and turn it over to government.
No, you did not say that. You did not say that. You did not say turn it to government.
Wow, what did I say?
You did not say. You said they should take initiative to create school. You did not end with turn it to government.
I said they should take private sector initiative.
It was when the senator said you turn it to government. What are you trying to revamp now? You did not say that.
No. You did not get me clear. No.
Because the system.
In the first place, you are fighting against. No. In the first place, you are fighting against initiative.
You did not say that. You did not. You were not modifying it after the senator spoke. Did you say that?
No. I came in to correct Mr. Dollar. I said no. You need to take initiative.
Let's agree. You did not say.
No. We will not agree.
You didn't say that the tape right there.
Initiative.
The tape is there.
No, but you guys are fighting against initiative. This is taking initiative. What's the big deal with that?
Did you say, Mr. Jones? Did you say to be trouble with the government? You did not say that. You did not
say that. Maybe you did not hear me. I said you can take so many initiative as a government official and turn it over to government.
You will not rewrite history right in front of offices. You will not rewrite history in front of offices. You did not.
Hello. Saye, you guys gotta listen. Come on. Why everybody? When somebody says something, they said they didn't say it. It is why.
But the thing right there, how will you rewrite history right in front of us?
We can't.
Let me make my point clear. I said building of school, taking initiative. There's no problem with that.
Yeah.
What I found problem with is government can come in to make sure these schools are up to date. I even said it.
You just saying it now. When you said it initially, you ended with private sector initiative. Until the senator said he's turning it over. Now you say it will be turned over to government. I want to tell you, you will not rewrite history in front of us. We are right here. The tapes are there.
I support the senator 100%.
But they own up to it. Don't try to edit it. We're right here. You can't rewrite history in front of us. Right here.
We gotta go. It's after. It's
10:45. 30 seconds, please.
We gotta go. Let's just
I've not have the time.
We've been here. You just got in 30 minutes. We've been here ever since.
I'm begging you. It is journalistic that the senator provided information that you glossed over. The senator provided information that was glossed over. The senator said that they outsourced East International. So which company as a journalist, you need to be key. Which company they outsource to? The library board, the law.
Well,
very important.
listen,
install the company.
We don't ask you. I ask the question is yeah, and then new company say yes. So, and I told you so we want to do it. So you expect me to just hijack it? Come on, you just come here. You want to come stop?
No, when I just came here today, it doesn't start. I want a simple one. Company A, company B. Why we want to have one people? If you're not sorry, you're not sorry. It is not too much to ask for.
What is it? Why were you want me to call something that he didn't say?
No, I said why we didn't ask him. That's a follow-up.
You were on the phone. Why you didn't ask?
How many people need to he put the comment up? They said Dollar Care brought it force for somewhere else. He brought it to one show today.
Yeah,
the reason I'm asking, the public works minister came and said East International could not do the job. So they didn't pass through PPCC. That's the technical
the
thing.
senator said that the public way, he said, it's good that the public way has realized it and there's a new company.
It was not good. That is the state that you have. It was not good because it didn't pass through the PPCC correctly.
So I want to put it there tonight.
Huh?
I don't want to put it there tonight.
No,
I want 3 more conversations. He makes you have
no, like that's what you are talking here.
He didn't ask me, are you seeing this company now? And he said, yeah. So where's the beating, guys? Good night. Okay, I gotta go.
My uncle go to sleep. Senator Joseph, thank you for coming on.
Please come back. The next time when you come, we want to know your own internal investigation. All of y'all
the
saying
police got an investigation, Papa.
Oh, you trust the police?
Investigate criminal matters and projects. According to our law of police.
You trust the police?
Mama, I see you. They want to
criminal case with the government and the government ownership.
Okay, my man. Good night. All right, guys. Thank you so much for the night. And that's how we're going to leave it. Sometimes it becomes a little bit heated. Not heated, but it's good that we have these conversations, different views. And it was good that he calls in, but we will arrange a time, perhaps, where we can have extensive conversations on some of these things that need clarity. We now know, like he said, East International is no longer dead. So the next question is to know which company there and what next. So hopefully we can get to the bottom line of this and get this information. Politicians, supporters, that's what they do. Political correctness. They back their own, they crucify others, and we have this sort of conversation. And they are also noted of having this sort of political correctness statement. They never address 4 conclusions when we need to be informed. That's the society we find ourselves in, and we'll continue to have this conversation. Senator, thank you for calling in. We respect our leaders. We can differ with them in views and their policies, but this conversation must be done in a safer context. And we must have the opportunity to have this sort of conversation to hear from them. Until then, I'm Alfonso Saye and Sort of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR-TV. Have a pleasant evening.